let's get into this, shall we? Happy Thanksgiving. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Thursday live stream for Week 12 of the 2023 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next 2.5 hours, prior to the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions, I'll be answering questions in regards to your guys' lineups, in regards to any starter sit questions we have going into Week 12. Of course, it's only Thursday, right? And yes, there are 3 games going on today, and we know a lot of the information in regards to who's playing or who's not playing later today. But as for Sunday, there are still many questions that we may have. Either way, the rankings that you guys can see to the right side of the screen are updated as of this morning in regards to my quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver positions. I'll also go ahead and present defense and kicker rankings at a later time once, in fact, we get the likes up there. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a solid, click the like button down below. Greatly helps continue to support the channel on a daily basis. So, on this wonderful Thanksgiving of 2023, we have a very interesting slate of games today. I mean, of course, I've seen some people in the chat asking, like, are we starting David Montgomery? In what scenario are we never? I mean, like, why wouldn't we start David Montgomery? Every single game that he has played healthy, he has scored a touchdown at least. He has an opportunity of taking on the Green Bay Packers. I mean, what more could we ask for in terms of a matchup on a Thursday short week? The last time they took each other on was the Thursday as well. Short week. David Montgomery, of course, 3 touchdowns. A monster game coming off an injury. Nonetheless, either way, I'll be answering questions for the next couple hours. If you guys have any questions, be sure to go ahead and include what your scoring format is, whether it's a half PPR, full PPR, standard scoring format, 6-point per passing touchdown, 4-point per passing touchdown. Anything that could potentially change my mind in terms of the overall designation of what I would suggest, please include it. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also, for those of you guys who are Patreon subscribers and members, I've already posted the rankings up in regards to half and full PPR rankings for this morning, all encompassing all positions flex. For those of you guys who have signed up via Underdog Fantasy since August 1st, 2023 till yesterday midnight, the rankings were sent out this morning around 2:30 a.m. So be sure to keep an eye on that in regards to checking your spam folder, because those rankings were sent out, should be in your inbox. That is the email associated with the Underdog account. Okay? Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, let's get into answering some of these questions, shall we? On this beautiful Thanksgiving Thursday for Week 12. First question comes in from Jaco. Jaco, thank you very much. Says, in a full PPR, pick 2 running backs, 1 flex. We have Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, Bijan Robinson, Chris Olave, Zach Charbonnet. I mean, at this point, in a full PPR scoring format, I'm fairly certain. I mean, look, Derrick Henry has to play. Just like I was so confident in starting, or at least by the time we got to Sunday of last week, I had Tony Pollard ranked as a top 5 running back taking on the Carolina Panthers. Any running back who takes on the Carolina Panthers should typically find a high level of success. Now, I know that a couple weeks back, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, not so much success within that given week, but I do expect Derrick Henry to get back on track within this given matchup. So let me see. Where do I have Chris Olave in comparison to those other running backs you mentioned? Yeah, I have all 3 of those running backs ahead of Chris Olave today in that circumstance. So I would play Derrick Henry. I would play Bijan Robinson. I'd play David Montgomery. Those are the 3 that I would suggest there, Jaco. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Sam in the chat was saying, Cowboys or Browns defense today, guys? I mean, as of right now, let's see here. Where is my defensive rankings? I mean, I do have the Cowboys ahead of them. They're both top 8 ranked defenses as of today. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult not to start the Cowboys defense when they're just solid typically, but they always have the upside of a pick 6. Deron Bland has 4 touchdowns via pick 6s. Imagine that. He has 4 touchdowns as a cornerback in the National Football League, and Tony Pollard only has 3 touchdowns this season. What a wonderful season, isn't it? All right, let's see here. Another question that was sent in via Super Chat. Let me go ahead and get to that right now. We had one from MIGZ. Thank you very much. Says, half PPR, start 2. We have Charbonnet, we have Henry, we have Sutton. Okay, so if we're starting 2 of those 3, Henry has to play. Between Charbonnet and Sutton in a half PPR, I'd like to hope that Cortland Sutton, and based on his overall consistency of play this season, 8 touchdowns in the last 10 games, a touchdown scored per game over the course of the last 5 consecutive weeks, I'd hope that he he can continue that streak. But the Cleveland Browns defense is no joke. It doesn't seem like a fun outing there for Courtland Sutton. I honestly probably would rather play Zach Charbonnet in that instance over him. As for your follow-up question, Logan Thomas or Cole Kmet, I'll lean towards playing Cole Kmet. Logan Thomas does have a really good matchup. I know that we didn't have a quarterback or tight end video this week, but in regards to matchups overall, Logan Thomas taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, considering they play a lot of, cover one man defense for, I would say, like 40+% of the time, it gives a lot of opportunities for man coverage of these tight ends, and they do end up finding themselves in advantageous positions. Nonetheless, I still like Cole Kmet. Has a higher, potential touchdown upside within the given matchup as well. As for your follow-up question, that Pats, Titans, Giants defense, guys, if we can get to, I don't know, there's 430 of you in here. If we can get to at least 180 likes, right? Double up where we're at now. We're at 93. If we can get to, I'll even go like the stream just to help us get there. If we can get to 180 likes, I'd be more than happy to go ahead and present the kicker and defensive rankings on screen to you guys. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you. I just went and clicked it. I'm number 94. All right, moving on. As for your question, though, Pats, Titans, or Giants defense today, I do prefer the New England Patriots. Kicker question you had there was Hopkins, Sanders, or Lutz. I prefer Lutz. Lutz is actually my number one kicker today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on. Let's see here. We had a question that came. Okay. For those of you guys who are in the chat saying Happy Thanksgiving, just know that it's reciprocated. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Welcome. Hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Thursday. I know it's early for me, 7 o'clock, but for you guys, you're probably somewhere across the world, wherever you are, wherever you're joining me from. Greatly appreciate you guys continuing to support the channel. And of course, coming on in today. Let's see here. So a couple reminders, guys, the rankings that are on screen are what I would suggest, right? So I did see someone that was asking like Russell Wilson or Jordan Love. I have Russell Wilson lower ranked than my top 16 because he primarily takes on the Cleveland Browns defense in comparison to Jordan Love, who I have as my number 16 ranked quarterback, right? So any player that is ranked on screen, whether it's an interpositional question, unless both players are completely off the list, and then in that point you need my clarification, I think the rankings on screen should help for a good majority of the questions. Nonetheless, moving on. We had Colin Smith with the question. Colin, thank you very much. It says Charbonnet or Addison in a full PPR today. Let me see who I have ranked higher in a full PPR. If I go to my rankings, Control F, Sharbs. Let's see, where's Charbonnet at? Charbonnet is there, and Jordan Addison's there. I have him ahead of Jordan Addison this week. I know that Jordan Addison, or not Jordan Zach. I know Justin Jefferson is not going to be playing today or on Monday of this week. It's interesting. They had a Sunday night game and then they're going straight to a Monday game. I know that he's not going to play this week. I just still don't love the play of Jordan Addison. Last couple of weeks with Josh Dobbs has not been the greatest load of upside. And I know that Zach Charbonnet is going to get himself a pretty high utilization of receiving work. If he falls into the end zone in any sort of capacity, could be a solid week. So I'll take Zach Charbonnet there. All right, let's see here. Scrolling down, trying to catch up with these. All right, we had a question from Parker. Parker, thank you very much. It says in a half PPR, Charbonnet, Ridley, Waddle, McBride. Okay, so out of those four, who do I'm fairly certain the player that I'm going to have ranked the highest is either McBride or Ridley. Let me check. So if I check there, we have Ridley there. McBride is, I have Ridley as the highest ranked player as the group. So of the bunch, right, Waddle, inconsistent as of late, taking on the New York Jets. Don't really love the overall play, but still a solid play as a wide receiver too. McBride is a solid play taking on the LA Rams as a top 10 matchup at the position, on top of the fact that he's seen himself a pretty good target share as of late. Zach Charbonnet, again, whenever you're the starting running back of a team, regardless of how potentially inefficient you could be or how difficult the matchup is, touchdown love really does, cure all, worries within the fantasy football realm. And I think there's a possibility of that, taking place today. So I wouldn't even put it past him. But as for Calvin Ridley, I'm just going to hope that the presence of Zay Jones truly is the difference maker, because there are games in the last couple weeks where we have seen on a consistent basis that Trevor Lawrence doesn't even look in the direction of Calvin Ridley. But in every single time Zay Jones is active and on the field, for some reason, they want to send him the ball 8+ times per week. We're just going to hope that consistency is going to ride. Taking on the Houston Texans, again, Houston hasn't really been given up much on the ground. They've typically been a defense that in the secondary has dealt with a lot of injuries, so I'd hope that Ridley could take advantage of that. So I'll take Ridley. If I was to order it, it'd probably go Ridley, Charbonnet, McBride, Waddle. Thank you. In a half PPR, of course. And in your follow-up question, Dak over Patty. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, man. the consistency that he has had over his career, specifically against the Las Vegas Raiders, is nice. Like, I mean, he's had himself really productive weeks against the Raiders in the last couple seasons. But what the Kansas City Chiefs have looked like as of late, specifically 0 points scored in the second half in the last 3 consecutive weeks, or 3 consecutive games, excuse me. That in itself is a little bit worrisome, while we're talking about the alternative of Dak Prescott, who's honestly just been on fire as an offense. They take on Washington today. It is the best matchup that you could possibly ask for, for wide receivers and or quarterbacks. It should be a solid week here. Thank you. Let's see here. We move on to Lawrence's question. Lawrence, where are you? Lawrence. Nope, that's not how you spell Lawrence. All right, Lawrence says in a full PPR, pick 2 running backs and a flex. We have Stevenson, Pacheco, Hall, and Devonta Smith. In a full PPR, that flex is 100% going to be Devonta Smith. So as for the running backs that would start, I'm probably leaning in the direction of playing Hall alongside of Stevenson, primarily because of their receiving upside. I think all 3 of them have a similar potential of finding the end zone. I mean, I'd love to play Pacheco, but again, that offense for the Kansas City Chiefs is... yeah, there's been very little consistency there across the board. Like, Travis Kelce's a guy that, even though I have ranked number 1, it's out of respect rather than what he has done as of late. And even the matchup itself isn't the greatest. So I'll take Stevenson, Hall, and Smith there. Lawrence, thank you again. Appreciate it. Moving on to official Honest Abe. I got that right this time, right? Mr. Honest Abe says, Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, full PPR flex. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. All right, so out of those 3 options, full PPR, let's check who we have. Let's see. I'm fairly certain it's going to be a Drake London play today. Let's see here. So if I have Drake London there, where is Najee Harris? Najee Harris is significantly lower than him on that totem pole. And then the alternative option is also Terry McLaurin, who is 1 spot ahead of him. So it would go Terry, it would go Drake London, then it would go Najee Harris in that order, full PPR. I'm just realizing that I was looking at the complete opposite. Let me check here. So in this, okay. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay, cool. Where's Charbonnet on this list? There it is. Okay, cool. We're good to go. So yeah, Honest Dave. McLaurin 1, Drake London 2, Najee Harris 3. Thank you. Someone in the chat was asking Likely or Otten. I have Isaiah Likely as my number 11 ranked tight end on screen, and Kate Otten as my number 16. So hopefully that would give you an indication as to where you would go. As my suggestion to yours, doesn't mean it's the answer. I don't have all the answers to the test. I wasn't given the sports almanac like Biff did in that one movie. But for now, this is my suggestion in regards to all the information I've collected over the week. Thank you. Skizzy says, how do you feel about Breece Hall with the QB change? Honestly, it's purely going to be a matter of can Tim Boyle consistently target him in the receiving game. If, in fact, Breece Hall does not get upwards of 5 to 7 targets, we're going to be – I mean, he could very easily score himself like 8 fantasy points and just be a dud today. If he gets himself consistent receiving work, which we would hope to be the case considering Michael Carter is no longer with the team and they don't really love to utilize Dalvin Cook in that capacity. And most likely, for majority of Friday's game against the Miami Dolphins, they should be in a negative game script. It should be a pass-heavy approach for majority of that contest. And even if it's not, if they are at any point leading, it's going to be Breece Hall, scoring a touchdown. So I don't really think it's a bad play at all. I don't love the quarterback change for him because I know that at least there was some semblance of consistency for fantasy purposes with Zach Wilson, even though it wasn't high upside every week, was still able to get himself, like last week, decent production by scoring a touchdown. All right, so we were able to surpass 190 overall likes. Greatly appreciate y'all doing that for me. I'm going to go ahead and change the graphic on screen to go ahead and present the kicker and defensive rankings for this week. I'll change it back to quarterback and tight end rankings in just a moment, but let me just keep going and answering questions. Thank you. Daniel Cap Keenan with a question says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. Tough decision in a full PPR. I need 2. We have Addison, we have Ridley, we have Downs, we have Lockett, we have Reed. What's your take on Reed with the injuries for Green Bay? Thanks. I mean, look, at this point, the absence of Aaron Jones really, in my mind, and the fact that A.J. Dillon is dealing with a bit of a groin injury going into this week as well, on top of the fact that they're taking on the Detroit Lions run stop defense, like everything's just compounding to just not be a really great game for them running the ball. It's probably going to be a pass-heavy event. In that instance, of course, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson all have the potential of scoring a pretty good semblance of points. I know that Wicks, one of their kind of rotational wide receivers, has been dealing with a little bit of an injury that he sustained on Sunday's game. Again, it's a short week. If we're going to see limited participation from him, and or maybe prior to the game, going, he may end up just being inactive. That only helps the potential of those receiving options. But in regards to what you have available, Ridley, Downs, Lockett, Reed, I mean, at this point, Ridley and Lockett would be the 1-2 combo that I would probably suggest. If we're looking for a 3, at that point, I'd probably say Reed. Number 4 is Downs. Number 5 is Addison, in that order. But yeah, for right now, first and foremost will be Ridley and Lockett. Rid and Reed just kind of roll off the tongue in the same way, but either way, yeah, Ridley and Lockett would be my primary suggestion. Otherwise, you pivot to playing Jaden Reed. Thank you. All right, let's see here. The next question came in from, where the heck did it go? There it is. Awesome. We had Jason. Jason, thank you very much. Says, good morning, Andrew. Happy Thanksgiving. Full PPR. Choose to flex Godwin, Zach Charbonnet, Jaden Reed, Devin Singletary, or starting 2 RBs are, okay, got it. So your 2 starting RBs should be left as is. If we're going to start 2 flex options in a full PPR capacity, it probably end up being Jaden Reed alongside of Zach Charbonnet there. The issue that I have with Devin Singletary is, from what we heard earlier this week from the head coach of the Houston Texans, Devin Singletary is going to most likely split some touches and majority of the overall snaps with Dameon Pierce, who is back this week. And the fact that they already have a very difficult matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars doesn't make him as appealing as an option. And like I mentioned with Chris Godwin yesterday, the issue with Chris Godwin is that there's been a lot more utilization out of Cade Otton and Rachaad White over the course of the last 3-4 weeks. Cade Otton getting himself red zone utilization, and of course, a guy like Rachaad White getting himself 25 receptions in the last 5 games is definitely digging into Godwin's overall utilization. So for right now, Charbonnet and Reed would be my suggestions. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Moving on to Damian Velasquez. Thank you very much, Damian. It says, can you explain why Dobbs over Demario Douglas? Yeah, primarily it's purely just a matter of touchdown upside. Like, I just don't see the New England Patriots offense being efficient enough to be able to get the ball down the field and score on a consistent basis. Now, if we're just talking about volume of receptions in a full PPR format, I could 100% I wouldn't even be able to argue. There's probably a high likelihood that Demario Douglas in a full PPR scoring format, assuming neither of the 2 scores touchdowns, I would probably say Demario Douglas is the more valuable option. But in comparison, the touchdown upside that is on the side of Dobbs, considering he scored a receiving touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games, that's primarily why in a half PPR scoring format, he has the higher ranking on screen as of right now, Damian. But yeah, in a full PPR, I would not mind playing Demario Douglas there, but I like them both pretty evenly. Again, that touchdown upside is definitely a difference maker, though, in the long run. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on, Marvin Lewis had a question. Says, happy Thanksgiving, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you. Standard start 2 and 1 flex. Okay, so start 2 flex. Okay, so let's see here. What do we have? Jacobs, Taylor, Swift, Kyren Williams. Jacobs, Taylor, Swift, Kyren. I mean, look, at this point, if I'm starting 2 of the 4, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift. Look, you have 4 incredible options. If I was you, actually, you're starting 2 flex. Let's say I'm just gonna give them out in terms of order, okay? If it's a standard scoring format, I'm starting at Taylor 1, Swift 2, Kyren Williams 3, Josh Jacobs 4, in that exact order. So do with it whatever you'd like, no matter how many you have to start. I mean, if I was you, I'd try to start all 4, but I'm assuming you're in a league which you can't. So again, Taylor, Swift, Williams, and Jacobs in that order. As for your follow-up question, Marvin, also Goff or Dobbs. And if it matters, I have Hawkinson. I don't know if that technically matters in this overall circumstance. When I change my rankings, I have Josh Dobbs as my number 10 quarterback, while I have Jared Goff at number 14. I do expect taking on the Green Bay Packers to be a little bit more of a run-heavy approach from the Green Bay Packers. From the Detroit Lions offense in comparison to last week, in which obviously Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions pretty early in that game and put them in a position where they have to throw for all of last week. I think this may be in a little bit of a different kind of approach where they're running the ball and, of course, securing the ball and not turning it over on a consistent basis. So, yeah, I'll take Josh Dobbs there alongside of Hawkinson. Thank you. Appreciate it, Marvin. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Ranjit. Thank you very much. Says Laporta or McBride in a full PPR. I'll take McBride there, honestly. Laporta, as of late, pretty much has been a inconsistent kind of commodity in that circumstance. He hasn't gotten as many targets as McBride has in the last couple games, and unless he scores a touchdown, really, I doubt that he'd be able to outscore him in a full PPR capacity. So for right now, I'll take McBride there. Thank you. Moving on to Daniel Barnes. Thank you, Daniel. Says full PPR. Pick one running back, one wide receiver, and one flex. We have Bijan, we have Gibbs, we have Swift, we have Puka, we have Moore, and we have Pittman. Wow. I mean, you just have really good players. Oh, man. Okay. So of the bunch, in a full PPR scoring format, let me see. So as for the running back position, I have Bijan Robinson ranked the highest out of the bunch in a full PPR capacity. The follow-up to that, as for your starting wide receiver, I would like to play Puka Nacua, but considering all three of, I'd probably end up playing Puka there in that circumstance. If we get to Sunday's game and Puka Nacua has Cooper Kupp active, then you'd play DJ Moore there on Monday night, so you really wouldn't have to make any adjustments there. And then for your flex, full PPR, let's check. Who do I have ranked higher? I'm fairly certain. Okay, let's check here. Scroll this over. I have Gibbs there. I have Bijan there. But okay, so here's the approach. So to answer your question, in a full PPR capacity, I have Puka, Bijan, and Moore all ahead of Gibbs today. So that's my primary three that I would roll with. Thank you. Appreciate it, Daniel. You just have too many good players. That's the blessing and the curse that you have. Aiden Johnson in a full PPR says, I need one running back. Sorry, you need an RB1 and RB2, a flex out of these options. Okay, cool. You have Hall, Mostert, DK, Evans, Bijan, and Michael Pittman Jr. Okay, so as for running back, first and foremost, I'll take Bijan Robinson there. Second, I'll take Raheem Mostert. The Raheem Mostert play is under the assumption, of course, we do not have an active Devon Achane. Even if he is active, I'd probably still rather play Mostert over Breece Hall tomorrow, even in a full PPR capacity, but it would be closer. But for right now, I'd say Bijan and Mostert would be that RB1, RB2. As for your flex, between Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, and Mike Evans in a full PPR capacity, as of right now, full PPR, I have Mike Evans ranked the highest out of the bunch. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Moving on to Champagne Fantasy says, why Deontay ahead of Christian Kirk? Christian Kirk, as of late, I mean, he's been a consistent option. Half PPR, full PPR, doesn't really matter. He also has touchdown potential. Not really, much in the red zone, but a solid amount. The reason why the reason primarily why I prefer it is the same reason why I'm ranking Ridley higher. Zay Jones, look, when I look at the overall snap counts, let me pull this up just so I have reference. Where we go? Jacksonville. No, that's Indianapolis. Wrong one. One team off. Boom, there it is. So when we just look at the overall snap counts, like if you look at Christian Kirk in week 10, when there's no Zay Jones, played 90% of the offensive snaps. Last week, played 75%. Like anytime we're going to be put in a situation where Zay Jones is active and playing that number 2 receiving role, and there's going to be opportunities for where Christian Kirk is no longer on the field in that circumstance, there's just less targets potentially for him. And we've seen that dip this season in which Christian Kirk's only averaging in a half PPR, 8.9 fantasy points per game when Zay Jones is active. So we're just going to lean in that direction. The Houston matchup isn't great either for the slot receiving position. And if we're looking at Deontay Johnson, I would like to assume that the firing of Matt Canada, one of the worst offensive coordinators the NFL has seen in quite a while, next to Adam Gase, I would probably potentially put him up there with. I would hope to see that this offense tries to open up, the passing game a little bit more and allow Kenny Pickett to at least prove why he's a first-round pick. And obviously looking in the direction of his number 1 receiving option in a pretty advantageous matchup, top 12 at the position for Deontay Johnson against Cincinnati should be a pretty solid play. Thank you. Moving on to Twisted Folk, says in a full PPR, flex position, we have Thielen, we have Chase, we have Ramondre. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Okay. So here's the thing about this question, Twisted Folk. In a full PPR, I do have Thielen ranked the highest out of the 3. Yeah, I trust that his reception count and, of course, his receiving yard total probably gets him over 15 fantasy points today. And with that, I think he probably outscores the other 3 options on top of the fact that he has, receiving touchdown upside this weekend. Thank you. Moving on to Hank as a full PPR question. It says Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson, or Zay Flowers. So Zay Flowers yesterday was limited with a hip injury. I'm hoping that that's not going to obviously play a huge role going into this week. So let's see. If I have full PPR, I have Tyler Lockett there. I have Flowers ahead of him. Yeah. So look, if at this point, I mean, even if Zay Flowers, let's say for example, this hip injury of his is debilitating enough to where he doesn't play this weekend, which I doubt is going to be the case. But let's say, for example, it happens. By the time we get to Friday, we'll know by our practice designations where we're at. But for right now, yes, I would rather play, Zay Jones ahead of Tyler Lockett today. And if in fact Zay Flowers ahead of Tyler Lockett today. And if Zay Flowers cannot go by Sunday, Deontay Johnson's a great alternative option there, Hank. Thank you. Moving on to Mike Sproles. Mike, thank you very much. Says, Guillotine full PPR league. One flex, Jamar Chase, Kamara, Stevenson, Devonta Smith. Scared to start Chase with my quarterback situation. So, with the quarterback situation. So, of the 4 options, I'd suggest playing Kamara. That is my highest ranked player out of the 4. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question from Super, who says, need upside, choose 2, McBride, Evan Ingram, Javonte Williams, Ridley, Downs. Playing against CeeDee Lamb, and my opponent is 8-3 full PPR. Have a great holiday. Thank you. All right, Super. So, of what you have available, if you need, I mean, look, the upside plays, I don't really think are the tight ends per se in a full PPR capacity. Let me see where I have Javonte Williams. Okay, so I have Javonte Williams there. The tight ends that you have, I technically, I mean, I don't love them in comparison to what else you have alternatively. So Ridley, it would be the first guy that I'm thinking is probably the play. Outside of Ridley, let me check here. Javonte, and then where is... Okay, so here's my thought process. In a full PPR capacity, I'm thinking if we're going just like ultimate upside, you play Ridley alongside of McBride. If you're just looking for the safe play of just getting his, a solid volume of touches, you play Ridley alongside of Javonte Williams. I'm thinking that maybe if you're just looking for the craziest potential outcome, I mean, I really do like the matchup against the LA Rams for tight ends, and McBride has seen a pretty good share of target opportunity as of late, so he could end up having himself another one of those big weeks, similar to what was it, week 9? Sorry, it was week 10 actually, where Kyler returned. And they had a pretty solid week there against Atlanta. So I'm leaning in that direction. I'd probably go Ridley and McBride there in terms of upside. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from, where are we? Trying to catch up. All right, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, I'll be here until 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'll be here for the next 2 hours consecutively answering questions. Appreciate you all continuing to support the channel. The rankings that are on screen are updated as of this morning. I'll filter kicker and defensive ranking every now and then, but I do appreciate y'all. All right, let's see here. Moving on to Orlando. Sends in a question. Says, full PPR, start Kyler Murray or Justin Fields. And okay, so between the two, I'd rather play Justin Fields, especially not yesterday. Last week, he was really getting his rushing utilization kind of going over 100 rushing yards. Now we might get into a position where, the Justin Fields of last season, where he's starting to cook up, pretty big performances, maybe back. In comparison to Kyler Murray, that defensive matchup, I don't love it. On top of the fact that, he's been given 2 weeks to try to get Marquise Hollywood-Brown involved. Really just hasn't. That offense has been relatively passive in terms of scoring. The rushing game isn't, doing great. So for right now, I just lean towards playing Justin Fields, who's the hot hand. As for your follow-up question in a full PPR, flex, Singletary, Demario Douglas, JSN, or Jay Wilson, which I'm assuming is Jeff Wilson, primarily because if there's no Devon Achane and there's obviously Salvin Ahmed going to the injured reserve, he could be a value, which I do think there's a potential in which he could be a solid play. But for now, I'd probably lean in a full PPR in the direction of playing Demario Douglas there. As for your last question, you have Kincaid, better backup, Freiermuth or Hunter Henry? I'd probably say Freiermuth is the better backup. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on. Dylan has a question. Says full PPR, flex, pick 2. McBride, Singletary, Ford, or Dotson. Out of that group, I'd go with McBride and Ford as the 2 best plays. Thank you. Moving on. We had a question. It came in from Cody. Cody, thank you very much. Says happy Thanksgiving, full PPR. Baker Mayfield or Gardner Minshew? I have Baker Mayfield ahead of Gardner Minshew. He's my number 17 ranked quarterback, just outside of the top 16, but still in that conversation. And flex Romeo Dobbs or Dalton Kincaid. Really good question. I probably would rather flex Dalton Kincaid there. I'd still lean in that direction. With Dawson Knox still absent, there's still a lot of potential there for Dalton Kincaid, especially we're coming off of a week in which last week there was literally 0 receptions from Gabe Davis. We've pretty much solidified the idea that Kincaid is the number 2 receiving option within this offense going forward. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Cody. Moving on to Nathan J. Nathan J says, hey, Andrew, pick 3 in a full PPR. Montgomery, Zach Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, Devonta Smith. In a full PPR, if I'm picking 3 of those 4 options, I'll take Montgomery 1, Devonta Smith 2, and Brian Robinson Jr. 3. Thank you. Where are we at? Okay. We had a question that came in from J-Bo. Daniel Cap said, what's going on with Gino's arm? From what I heard from Pete Carroll earlier this week, it's a tricep injury, and he was pretty confident that not only he's going to play today, but that he'll play well. So it's already been deemed that Geno Smith is going to play tonight, so I don't really have a problem with that. But yeah, that was the primary the issue. J-Bo sends in a question, says, I'm starting Gibbs. Should I put Montgomery, Mixon, or Ramondre Stevenson as my RB2? Also, T-Law or Romeo Dobbs. Sorry, not Romeo Dobbs. That's Joshua Dobbs as my quarterback. So, J-Bo, my suggestion would be to play Montgomery alongside of Gibbs. Pretty much collect all of the running back statistics out of the Detroit Lions backfield, considering how much value is just kind of radiating off of that team. I'll play both the Detroit Lions running backs as my suggestion there. As for your quarterback play, Trevor Lawrence would probably be the guy. Where do I have him ranked? I have Trevor Lawrence at 9, Joshua Dobbs at 10. I mean, they're pretty much, they're back to back. They're relatively close plays. Let me see here. Where are we at in terms of, scroll this over, I have Trevor Lawrence in 1 tier higher than Josh Dobbs. He's pretty much the cutoff in terms of my tier 3 quarterbacks for this week. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence will be my suggestion over Dobbs. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Colin Smith. Thank you, Colin. It says, I have Moody currently, drop for Matt Gay or Younghoe Koo. So here's the thing about Younghoe Koo. He's dealing with a back injury. He may not even play this week. So keep that in mind. But yes, I'd be very comfortable dropping Jake Moody for Matt Gay. He's been a very consistent kicker option. Thank you. Moving on, we had Reuven Roberts, who sends in a question. Thank you, Reuven. Says, hey, Andrew, I need 3 wide receivers in a flex, full PPR. Cup, if he plays, Addison, Douglas, Downs, Cooper, Brian Robinson Jr. is as my flex, question mark? Okay, so 3 wide receivers in a flex. I would play Brian Robinson Jr. as your flex pretty confidently there. If Cup plays, he would get one of the wide receiver spots alongside of Demario Douglas and probably, yeah. So this is probably what I would go with. I'd go with Cup, Douglas, and Downs. If Cup does not play this week, you play Addison in his stead. But yeah, Brian Robinson Jr. should play in your flex. Thank you. All right, let's see here. I said Taylor Swift? Where? What? Oh, did I not say DeAndre Swift? Did I actually? Dude, this is my robot brain. Actually, though? How long ago was that? Oh my God. I'm cooked. Holy moly. All right, keep it moving. It is what it is. Oh, man. All right, moving on. Michael Barton sends in a question. Thank you, Michael. Michael says, in a full PPR, Stevenson, Jacobs, Charbonnet, most upside out of the 3, I'd probably say that Jacobs has the highest upside of the bunch. Also, Lamar, A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, McBride, Pacheco, and Mostert. Second, okay, wait. So you're playing those guys. Second, Herbert or Murray? Between Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert this week, I mean, honestly, last week Justin Herbert could do no wrong within that offense, but it was in a pretty advantageous matchup against Green Bay secondary that literally had none of their starters active. So when they take on Baltimore today, or sorry, not today, it's not Sunday. When they take on Baltimore this week, man, it really does feel like a Sunday for me. Like, at least all my preparation has been accelerated to feel like a Sunday. So either way, I would suggest playing Kyler Murray this week. But we'll once again get a indicator on that answer by the time we get to Sunday, because those guys do play on Sunday. As for your third question there, Jay Williams or Mitchell? Jay Williams or Mitchell? So there are multiple Jay Williams. There's Jamal Williams. There's Jamison Williams. There are multiple Mitchells. There's Keaton Mitchell. There's Elijah Mitchell. So under the assumption that we're talking about, let's say, for example, it's Jamison Williams and Keaton Mitchell, I'd probably rather just, actually, at this point, let me think about this. Yeah, I'd probably rather play Keaton Mitchell there. As for your fourth question, Pop Douglas, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Jaden Reed. I think in a full PPR capacity, the safest play of the bunch is most likely just playing Jaden Reed there. Thank you. Moving on to Gio Ortiz. Says, thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins and Saints defense this week? DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, I had a video yesterday. I don't love the overall play of DeAndre Hopkins. His overall utilization within that offense is limited, but considering they're taking on the Carolina Panthers, the running game is going to be a pretty huge part of their offense, and it should be able to move the chains consistently enough to where the play action game should open up opportunity for him this week. As for the Saints defense this week, taking on the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, Desmond Ridder is a fumble machine. So if you were going to put any sort of hope in a defense like the Saints kind of having a bounce back performance, potentially against Desmond Ridder is possible, but ultimately the Saints don't sack the quarterback enough, and they don't cause enough turnovers to be a relevant option in terms of defensive rankings. Like if I change my rankings, right, or just go ahead and present my top 12 kicker and defensive rankings, like I don't even have the Saints implicated within my top 15. I'll tell you that for sure. But in terms of my top 12, they're not even on the list. Moving on to Joey Boy's question. Joey says, in a half PPR, pick 2, Stevenson, Warren, Charbonnet, Flowers. Stevenson, Warren, Charbonnet, Flowers. In a half PPR scoring format, I'd rather just play Stevenson and Warren there this week. Thank you. Let's see here. Let's catch up a little bit. Good to go. Moving on to Jason's question. Jason said, Kincaid or McBride? I mean, in a half PPR, full PPR capacity, I'm still leaning in the direction of playing McBride over Kincaid. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Keelan Simpkins. Says, I need one wide receiver and 2 flex in a full PPR capacity. Deontay Johnson, Romeo Doubs, Kareem Hunt, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton. So basically, we need 3 starts out of this group. If I'm starting 3 of these players, it's Deontay Johnson, Romeo Doubs, and Cortland Sutton there. Thank you. Moving on to Charles Rush. Charles says, Chase, Mostert, Kirk, Javonte for the flex, full PPR. Chase, Mostert, Kirk, Javonte. Oh, man. I mean, I think Mostert's probably the safest play of the bunch. I mean, effectively against the Jets, it should be the best. Yeah, I have Raheem Mostert as my number 39 and Jamar Chase is my number 41. So yeah, Raheem Mostert's the play there. I don't know what to expect from Jake Browning, like how effective he truly could be with Chase. I know that Chase will be a solid option, but I do believe if we're going to have an absent Devon Achane from this offense, Mostert should end up being able to get himself somewhere between, especially in a full PPR capacity, somewhere between 12 to 15, 16 points. Rough Times says, happy Thanksgiving. See question below. Okay, let's see here. Rough Times says, lost Andrews, Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, and Devon Achane in the same week. That's unbelievably unlucky. 0.25 per rushing attempt and half a point per reception. Need upside between Achane, Ty, Dylan. Okay, so hold up. Give me a second here. So, of the available options, you have Ty Chandler, you have Devon Achane, and you have A.J. Dillon. Honestly, at this point, I'd probably wait to see if Achane plays. If he does, I'd play him ahead of the bunch. Otherwise, you kind of have to just, do we want to just play A.J. Dillon today and just take the risk of it? Nah, I'd probably wait. I'd say let's wait. If tomorrow Achane plays, great, you start him. Otherwise, you start Ty Chandler within the given week there, Rough Times. I'd rather kind of take the risk in that overall capacity. Also, follow-up question, full PPR, Charbonnet, Ford, or Singletary. Between those 3, in a full PPR capacity, I'm fairly certain. Let me check who I have ranked highest. Full PPR, I have Zach Charbonnet, ranked the highest out of the group. Thank you. Moving on to Brian M., who says full PPR, start 2, Pittman, Ayuk, and Puka Nacua. If I'm starting 2 out of those 3 in a full PPR capacity, it would be Puka Nacua and Michael Pittman Jr. Thank you. Get Some says full PPR. I need 1. Waddle, Jaden Reed, or Josh Downs. Oh, wow. Am I ever going to suggest not playing Waddle? I don't think so. You could, I mean, look, it's your team. You could take the risk and potentially sit him. I don't know how much of a risk it technically is. I mean, considering how well Jaden Reed has played as of late, and Josh Downs, when healthy, has been such a great option. But yeah, I would still play Waddle there if it's my team. Kind of a start your stud position. Kendall Johnson sends in a question. Thank you, Kendall. Greatly appreciate it. Very, very generous. Says full PPR, flex 1. I have Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Derrick Henry, Gibbs, DeAndre Swift at running back. We have Chase, Garrett Wilson, Dell at wide receiver, Laporta, Singletary, Collins, Chandler, Rice, Charbonnet. Do I need to trade up for a tight end, wide receiver 1, or RB1? Okay, so if it's a one flex league and you have all of these studs, so where you're starting, okay, so here's my primary suggestion. I don't know if you need Jalen Hurts on this team with Justin Fields, so Justin Fields should be shipped. If you can ship Justin Fields and haul in another wide receiver that can play alongside Adele for the remainder of the season, probably it wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, that being said, Chase, and Garrett Wilson could both serve well with a backup quarterback and still be fine. It's possible. We'll have to wait and see how it kind of transpires on Sunday, but your tight end's fine. Your running back position's fine. You have too much depth at quarterback. I mean, I guess you could have the insurance policy of Fields, in case something happens to Hurts, but I don't think you need it. If you're just trying to improve your roster, it's probably taking Fields with one of those wide receivers that are the lesser options that are not named Tank Dell and trying to make an upgrade at wide receiver 1. That's probably the primary suggestion. Thank you, Kendall. Moving on to Josh. Sends in a question. Says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. I appreciate all that you do. I see the rankings, but can you expand upon James Cook and Zach Charbonnet? I need 1.5 PPR scoring for my. Yeah. So here's my thought process. If at any, I understand that a lot of the overall rushing opportunities that James Cook was given last week was primarily because they were leading within that given game. But even then, in the second half of that game, fourth quarter, it was all, Latavius Murray. I think he had, 10 rushing attempts in that fourth. He had a pretty good share of rushing attempts in the second half of that game. Nonetheless, between the two of them, it's just purely a matter of who's going to have the potential for like the upside breakout run. Like what I saw that Isaiah Pacheco do to that defense on Monday, and the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles is giving up what I think the number is 4.05 yards. Let me find the number. I'm not going to even BS it. Where's the number? The Philadelphia Eagles since week 5, I mean, even though they don't allow very many points to opposing running backs, they're still allowing way too many yards per carry. Philadelphia, let's see here. The number is 4.56 yards per carry since week 5 to opposing running backs. And if we're going to continue to see a lot of the majority of touches go in the direction of James Cook with the new offensive coordinator and his utilization as a receiving option out of this backfield, which again hasn't been a consistent play thus far this season, if that just continues to go in his direction, I'd much rather play James Cook in a higher scoring event against that defense rather than Zach Charbonnet, in which I'm hoping that he scores a touchdown. And the only way he really ends up being a great play is if he in fact does score a touchdown, while James Cook could just get it done via yardage on the ground through the air. We had a question that came in from Emmanuel Ramirez, who said, happy Thanksgiving, full PPR, Chase or Charbonnet? At that point, I'd rather just play Chase. Thank you. Moving on to Chase McGraw. Says, Jacobs, Waddle, full PPR, I need to win. I'd probably end up playing Jacobs there. Thank you. Moving on to Michael Barton, who says, full PPR, I need 2 running backs in a flex. My running backs that I have are Mostert, Jacobs, Pacheco, Stevenson, Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, Keaton Mitchell. 2 running backs in a flex. Okay. Jacobs, Mostert, and Stevenson. Those are the 3 that I would suggest. Actually, no, you have Brian Robinson as well. Yeah, so it's probably Mostert, Jacobs, and Brian Robinson in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on to AC, who says Ayuk or Mostert in a flex full PPR. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Ayuk there. Thank you. Jim says, you help turn my team around. Thank you. Full PPR. I have Swift, Pollard as my starting running backs. We have Dell, Puka Nacua starting wide receivers. We have Laporta as our starting tight end. I need 2 flex. Okay. We have Evans, Olave, Ayuk, Pickens, Jacobs, Hall, and Swift. Okay. Let's see here. We need 2 flex out of Evans, Olave, Ayuk, Pickens, Jacobs, Hall, and switch Jacobs, Hall, question mark. Pollard, Swift, Del Puka, Laporta at tight end. Need 2 flex At this point, in a full this is a full PPR, right? Yeah. Let me check this. So Mike Evans has to play, and it's just a matter of is Chris Olave or Brandon Ayuk higher than those running backs? Let's see. Where's Ayuk? Ayuk is there, and Olave's there, and where's Jacobs? In a full PPR, Jacobs is the head of Olave behind Brandon Ayuk. Okay, so of the available options that you have, the two flex options I would end up suggest playing is Evans and Ayuk. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to John Alderson, who says, Christian Kirk or Jalen Warren in the flex. Keep up the good work. I'd probably end up playing Jalen Warren there. Charles R. says, your analysis, please. Why high on Pollard? What does that say? Is that supposed to be despite? I don't know what that other word is. Your analysis, please. Why high on Pollard? What the heck does this even mean? Let me look this up. Yeah, it's not a real word. For a second, I was like, is my vocabulary just guttered? Let's just answer the question. Why am I high on Pollard? Rushing opportunity associated with a top tier offense. He's going to get himself goal line opportunities. Could possibly score a touchdown. Gets himself a lot of receiving work. Rico Dowdle dealing with an injury. Bada boom. Thank you very much. Moving on. Josh Pippin says, pick 3 players for anytime TDs today. Anytime TDs today. Let's think about this. Christian McCaffrey, anytime TD. CeeDee Lamb, anytime TD. I gotta think about this for a second. Jahmyr Gibbs, anytime. Is it Jahmyr Gibbs or is it? Or do we go with David Montgomery? I think they both score, to be totally honest. So for right now, yes, I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs in that circumstance. So I'll take McCaffrey, I'll take Gibbs, and I'll take CeeDee Lamb. Anytime touchdown on those 3. Thank you, Josh. Moving on to Tommy T. Says, happy Turkey Day. Thank you very much, Tommy. Full PPR, Gibbs, Monty, Ford, Kyron Williams, Hill, Ayuk, DK, Flowers, Nico, McBride, TJ. I need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, and a tight end. Okay, so your tight end has to be TJ Hawkinson. Your 2 running backs at this point should be Montgomery and Gibbs. Your 2 wide receivers should be Tyreek Hill and Brandon Ayuk. And the singular flex that I would suggest playing alongside of this group is Kyron Williams. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to Anthony Ling, who says 1 point per reception, pick 2, Mitchell, Ramondre, Lockett, Schultz, and Kirk. 1 point per reception. I'm picking 2 out of this group. So if we're picking 2 out of that group in a full PPR capacity, Ramondre Stevenson alongside of, let me see, which one of those 2 receivers? Where's Lockett? Lockett's there. Christian Kirk's ahead of him. Yeah, so it would be Ramondre Stevenson and Christian Kirk. Thank you. Appreciate it. Jay Nice sends in a question. Says, happy holidays, Andrew. Any changes rest of season? I have Pollard, Lamar, Gibbs, Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Brian Robinson Jr., Cade Otton, San Francisco defense, Aubrey, benches, Hollywood Brown, Fields, JSN, and I have a follow-up regular chat. Okay. If we're making any, look, Lamar stays at quarterback. Your running backs are solid. Your wide receivers are solid. Brian Robinson, or it's either Bijan or Brian. It doesn't really matter. As your flex, you're still solid there. Your tight end probably needs to be improved, but honestly, Cade Otton could get the job done. He's a top 16 option probably rest of the season, as long as he continues to see himself a high usage of red zone utilization. Hollywood Brown's a solid kind of positional rotation guy, especially if he catches fire. Fields, you don't technically need, but for the case of Lamar, maybe just holding him isn't a bad idea. JSN's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't make any immediate changes. I don't think there's a necessity for it with this team. But as for your follow-up regular chat question, Jay Nye says, in a full PPR, and in my other league, I need 2 wide receivers to start. I have Godwin, Cooks, JSN, Downs, and Dobbs. Yeah, at this point, I'd rather play Downs and Dobbs out of the bunch. I'll take Josh Downs, and I'll take Romeo Dobbs. Thank you. All right, scrolling back up, let's go ahead and see what we had. We were at Lucky Slevin, who says full PPR, start 2 in the flex. Number one, okay, let's see here. I have Pollard, I have Kyron Williams, I have Montgomery, I have Charbonnet, I have James Cook. So start 2 flex out of that group. Pollard, Kyron Williams, Montgomery. Yeah, I mean, at this point, in a full PPR capacity, it would be Pollard and Montgomery as the 1-2 combo. If you had an opportunity to play a third, it would be Kyron Williams there. As for your follow-up question, also Dobbs or Lamar at quarterback, 100% play Lamar. The Chargers defense is a disaster, and I expect the coach to be fired because of it. Justin Barnes sends in a question. Thank you very much, Justin. Says Kincaid and London for Henry and Otten. Thoughts? I'm going to hope that's Derrick Henry, right? Not like Hunter Henry. If it's Derrick Henry and you're moving Kincaid and London for it, you're bringing in Cade Otten as your... I mean, look, if you're in need of running back depth, let's do it. That's fine by me. But that's under the assumption you need running back depth. Thank you. Let's see here. Peace unto you says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. Don't have any questions. Just use your rankings. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Peace. Ali sends in a question. Says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. Full PPR. Is it too risky to start Edwards amongst Hall, Charbonnet, and... No, I mean, I actually prefer to play Edwards ahead of the bunch. I mean, the guy scored 9 rushing touchdowns in the last 5 games. He has been a top 10 ranked running back in 4 of the last 5 games he's played. The only week in which he wasn't, he scored a touchdown, sure, but he only had like 20-something rushing yards. So, I mean, I think Gus Edwards is the best play out of Hall, Charbonnet, and himself. All right, let's hear. Dr. Gibbs 21 says, 8-team league, full PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. I have Hall, Ridley, Ayuk, Warren, Reed, Williams. I need realistic upside. Realistic upside, huh? I think realistic upside probably leans in the direction of playing Brandon Ayuk as your wide receiver and Kyron Williams as your running back there. Thank you. Gabe Davis says full PPR. I need 2. Why did I say Gabe Davis? It's just Gabe. Hey, Gabe, what's up? Gabe Marriott sends in a question. For some reason, anytime I see Gabe Davis pops up. That's why when I saw Swift, that's why I probably thought Taylor. I don't know, man. Either way, that's just my brain. Gabe says full PPR. I need 2 running backs and a singular flex. We have Mixon, Charbonnet, Warren, Addison, Dobbs, Singletary. Out of that group, 2 running backs and a flex. The 2 running backs I would suggest playing are Mixon and Warren. And the flex that I like out of the bunch in a full PPR is probably, it's between Dobbs and Charbonnet. Let me see if I have Dobbs ahead of him in a full PPR. Dobbs. Yes, I have Dobbs at 65, Charbonnet at 67. So he's 2 spots ahead of him. So we go Mixon, Warren, and Dobbs there. Thank you. Follow-up question, also Ravens defense or Patriots? Between the bunch, I have the Patriots ranked as my number 2 defense for this week, taking on rookie quarterback. We know, Bill Belichick's track record against rookie quarterbacks typically plays really well as a defense there. They throw a lot of different looks at the quarterback and definitely cause a lot of confusion. In comparison to Baltimore's defense, where, again, I still have them in a top 12 capacity, but I do prefer the New England Patriots. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Kenneth Williams. Thank you, Kenneth. It says full PPR, Deontay Johnson or McBride? That's a really good question. I think that's a lot closer than it probably... Let's see here. McBride is there. Yeah, it is really close. I have McBride at 45 and Deontay Johnson at 48. I have McBride slightly ahead of him. Thank you. Let's see here. Pedro's Lucario sends in a question who says, standard league, I need a wide receiver and a flex. We have Gabe Davis, Josh Downs, Rashee Rice, and Chuba Hubbard. In a standard scoring format, Gabe Davis last week was a disaster. Zero receptions should never occur, especially within that offense, but it is what it is. I mean, it happens. Let me check something. Are they playing at home this week, the Buffalo Bills? Or are they on the road? They're on the road, yeah. I love the matchup for Gabe Davis. I just don't know if I can trust it. So out of the bunch, I'd probably just play Chuba Hubbard alongside of Josh Downs there. Thank you. Steve sends in a question, says, in a half PPR, am I crazy for wanting to sit Eckler versus Baltimore and playing Gus Edwards or Kyron Williams instead? I don't think you're crazy for wanting to do that. I mean, the thing is, who else are you starting at running back? Like, if let's say, for example, you're starting 2 running backs, Eckler's one of them. Yes, you might want to start. Well, yeah. I don't blame you if you do it. Would I do it? I probably wouldn't. Again, Eckler last week, I mean, he fumbles on the 2-yard line. That's literally 8+ points of a swing. Instead of getting +6 and the 2 yards of rushing, he gets -2. That's a huge 8-point swing on his overall fantasy production of a week, in which he goes from 6 to 14 points. And then maybe in the second half of the game, when they're not down, instead of throwing the ball, they perhaps run the ball more. He gets more rushing upside. So everything could have changed if he didn't fumble the ball there, but I don't blame you if you make that swap. I don't blame you at all. Also, Taysom Hill over Evan Ingram for touchdown upside. If you're playing in a half PPR, I can understand it. That's fine by me. Otherwise, as of right now, I do have where's Evan Ingram here? Evan Ingram's my number 8. Taysom Hill's my number 12. Again, touchdown upside is what you would want to see, but there's always the potential. We've all experienced it where Taysom Hill, even though he could potentially score a touchdown, comes out and throws up one of those goose egg performances where he doesn't find the end zone, scores 3 points, and burns us. But yeah, for right now, wouldn't blame you on that one either. Also, Broncos defense, Patriots versus Tommy. Yeah, I'll take the Patriots versus Tommy. Thank you. Moving on, let's scroll down here. We've almost caught up in terms of some of the super chats. I do appreciate you guys sending those in. For those of you who are joining us today, greatly appreciate you guys' presence, support. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome. A couple reminders. Again, the rankings that are on screen are updated as of this morning. Additionally, for those of you guys who have signed up via Patreon and are current subscribers, rankings have been posted earlier this morning. I'd probably say a couple hours back. Those rankings are up to date. All primary positions. For those of you guys who have signed up via Underdog Fantasy using code Andrew, starting August 1st of 2023 till yesterday of midnight, I will have already sent out those rankings in regards to, the all-encompassing Thursday rankings, positional, half PPR, full PPR, flex, all of that taken into account. Greatly appreciate it. So those have all been sent out. Check your email that's associated with the Underdog account. Greatly appreciate it. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a solid. Click the like button down below. Thank you. Okay, so we move on from Pedro's question to Steve. So yeah, Steve, if it's my team, I mean, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't think you're crazy for wanting to make that swap. I'll just put it there. Precision Building says, happy gobble day, Andrew. 1 flex, half PPR, Kamara, Flowers, Addison, Charbonnet, or Downs. Is it half PPR? Because if this is any sort of PPR, I mean, I don't even care if it's a PPR. The answer is Kamara. Kamara has to play as your flex. Also, is AJ Brown's thigh okay? I don't know. We'll know by we'll know by Sunday. Well, I was gonna say we'll know by Friday because that's the practice designation that he'll have. That'll kind of give us a determination whether he's limited or at a full capacity. So we'll know by Friday for sure. But by the time we get to Sunday morning, I'll have more clarification as to how significant that thigh injury is. Crispy sends in a question. Says, happy Thanksgiving. Should I play Lamar or Dak? I prefer to play Lamar Jackson. The rushing upside, there's always a potential there of him continuing the scramble even more this week in the absence of, Mark Andrews. Carlos sends in a question. Carlos Laurie says, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. You too. In a full PPR, I need to pick one. Jerome Ford, Garrett Wilson, and or Deontay Johnson. In a full PPR, if I'm playing one of the... Man, that's tough. Where do I have it? Deontay Johnson is at number 48 in a full PPR. Jerome Ford, where are you? I have Jerome Ford ranked below him. I have Garrett Wilson ranked below him. Yeah, Deontay Johnson would be my suggestion there, Carlos. Thank you. Bug Nasty says, start Downs, Hopkins, or Watson over Montgomery in the flex. No, I wouldn't. Full PPR also have more Amon-Ra, Mixon, ETN starting. Yeah, I would leave it as is. Play Montgomery along with the rest of the guys that you have on team. Thank you. Let's see here. Dre Day sends in a question. Says, happy Thanksgiving. Rate my team so I lose this week. Okay. CJ Stroud is my quarterback because I lost Burrow. Hill, Tank, JT, Henry, oh my God, Puka Nacua, Brian Robinson, Kincaid, Stevenson, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins. I'm in first place. I mean, I don't know how you could lose this week. I'm going to be honest. I mean, like anytime you have Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry in the matchups that they do this week, that's pretty solid. CJ Stroud's been playing well. You have Tyreek Hill and Tank Dell, which again, I mean, what are we talking about here? At this point, there's nothing really I need to do but say, great roster construction. Let's just hope that Garrett Wilson kind of gets back on track going forward with the new quarterback. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Bruce, who said in a half PPR, pick 3, Bijan Robinson, David Montgomery, Tank Dell, Puka Nacua. In a half PPR, let's see here. It's Bijan, Montgomery, Dell, and Puka. Okay. So in my half PPR flex rankings, I have it such. Tank Dell, Puka Nacua, and Bijan Robinson. All 3 of them ahead of David Montgomery today. Thank you. Moving on to Anonymous, who says in a half PPR, I need to sit 2 between Kyron Williams, Josh Downs, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson Jr., Zach Charbonnet, and Christian Watson. If I'm only sitting 2 of the bunch, I would rather sit Downs and Christian Watson. I'd rather play Kyron Williams, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, and Zach Charbonnet over the bunch. So play all 4 of the running backs there. Thank you. Perry of Paul sends in a question. Says, full PPR, pick 2 at running back. Jacobs, Hall, and Charbonnet. Yeah, I'll take Jacobs and Hall there in a full PPR. Thank you. Moving on. We had a question that rolled in from... That's not it. Okay. Head Shop says, Lutz over Aubrey / Joseph rest of season. I don't know about rest of season, but as of right now, I mean, it's just kind of hard to argue against Will Lutz, who's had himself, 4 field goals made in 3 of the last 4 games he's played. It's kind of hard to argue with that as of right now. So, honestly, he's the best kicker for fantasy at this moment. Let's see here. Torod Taylor says, Tyler Lockett or Mostert in a flex full PPR. I'll take Mostert there. Thank you. Let's see here. We had Charles R. who says, please answer 2 follow-ups as well. Also, break down Bijan versus Pollard. I mean, if I was going to rely upon an offense to succeed more in the running game and to give their running back 20 plus touches within a given week, that's Bijan Robinson. Like in the last 4, 5, 6 games, Tony Pollard is getting himself 12 to 15 rushing attempts. He's not going to get anything even close to Bijan Robinson's kind of exposure of opportunity in terms of rushing attempts, which gives him the clear advantage there. 2 follow-ups. Let's see here, Charles. Jerome Ford plays worse run defense. Why not higher? Because the backup quarterback. You just stack the box against them, make him beat him with your arm. That's why. Let's see here. Your second follow-up. I lost Andrews, but I have Laporta, Schultz on the waivers. If I drop which defense? At this point, I just play Laporta. If you're gonna pick up a second, might as well. If I'm dropping one of those defenses, I'd probably end up dropping the Minnesota Vikings. I dropped the Vikings, and I would pick up Dalton Schultz there, just so you have an extra tight end on roster. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from, where is it? Took care of Perry, took care of Mr. Taylor. Charles are good. Alex Fisher says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. Half PPR, RB2 slot. Do I go Warren or Zach Charbonnet tonight? In a half PPR, again, the rankings are on screen for a half PPR scoring format. Between the 2, I would rather play Jalen Warren. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Patrick Morris, who said, I need a solid 10 from a flex. Start Godwin, Garrett Wilson, or A.J. Dillon. If I'm looking for a solid 10 points from a flex, I'd rather play Garrett Wilson out of the bunch. Thank you. Let's see here. Scrolling down, we had one that came in from Craig Staley. Thank you, Craig. Says, happy Turkey Day, Andrew. I have Herbert, Swift, Montgomery, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, McBride, Evans, Laporta. I received an offer of McBride and Evans for Stroud and DJ Moore. Currently, I'm 9-2. So you would be sending away McBride and Evans for Stroud and DJ Moore. Look, I honestly like DJ Moore just as much as I like Evans rest of season. Considering you have Laporta, you technically don't need McBride. But do you want to make this trade just to swap Herbert for Stroud? I mean, look, if you want to just swap, if you want to swap Herbert for Stroud, you're more than welcome to do it. I think we talked about this earlier this week. The whole point is DJ Moore is just as valuable as Evans. So it's just a matter of, do you want more quarterback depth and do you want to play the matchups of Stroud in the fantasy playoffs, who he takes on Tennessee in 2 of those 3 games? I think those are pretty advantageous approaches, so I don't mind the swap there. Thank you. Semi-Pro says Henry, Kamara, Waddle, Devonta Smith. What else do we have? We have Kirk, Pacheco, Charbonnet. Bench 2 in a full PPR. Also, okay, so let's first and foremost, let's bench 2. I'm playing Henry. I'm playing Kamara. I'm playing Waddle. I'm playing Smith. I'm playing Pacheco. I'm sitting Kirk, and I'm sitting Charbonnet. As for your follow-up question, also I have Schultz, but prefer not to play two tight ends. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Because if we're starting, Henry, Kamara, Waddle, and Devon Smith, I wouldn't play Schultz either. Thank you. Sergio sends in a question, says half PPR. Who should I start? 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex. I have Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, what is this? Debo Samuel, Cortland Sutton, Pickens, and Watson. I have Keaton Mitchell, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Connor. Okay, so Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor are your 2 RBs that are starting. You have 3 wide receivers that you can start. I would suggest playing Debo Samuel, Jaden Reed, alongside of Cortland Sutton. The 1 tight end you play is whatever tight end you have. I don't think you even mentioned one here. Yeah, didn't even mention a tight end here. Don't worry about it. And the 2 flexes you would play are Kyren Williams alongside of. Would I rather play him over? Yeah, I'd rather play Kyren Williams and Connor as your flex options there, Sergio. Thank you. Y'all Too Fake says, can you break down Jordan Love and Sam Howell full PPR? Okay, so here's the thing about Jordan Love. Terrible in the first half. Probably will continue to be terrible today in the first half. He's going to have a bunch of garbage time in the second half. Will probably turn over the ball on multiple occasions, but at the end of the day, will still score himself a pretty solid volume of points. The thing about Sam Howell is that even though he does take on the Dallas Cowboys, every single game this season, he's always in the fight. It doesn't even matter what the matchup is. It just seems like he's always potentially, I don't know how the Washington Commanders have landed upon Sam Howell being a gunslinger at the capacity which he is, but it is what it is. They're going to be in a negative game script for majority of the day. So my assumption is just as much passing. But the thing is, in comparison between Sam Howell and Jordan Love, Sam Howell doesn't wait a full first half to throw the ball and finally be relevant, while Jordan Love really doesn't do anything in the first half for majority of games, which obviously lessens his overall potential for value. Thank you. So Vici Asok sends in a question, says, Happy Turkey Day. Always enjoy the shows. PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. I have the following. So of the following that you have, Kamara needs to start alongside of Rachaad White as your running backs. So Vicia. And then as for your wide receivers, it's Tank Dell alongside of Devontae Adams. And then the flex that I would play is most likely, considering we can't. So here's the issue that you have. Oh man, decisions. Yeah, so you're in a predicament where you either have to start Brian Robinson Jr. or Mostert today or tomorrow, or wait for Cooper Kupp this Sunday, which again, Cooper Kupp didn't practice yesterday. So at this point, I'd probably just suggest playing Mostert tomorrow and just roll with it at that capacity. It is a full PPR. Let me check. What do I have Brian Robinson Jr. in comparison? Brian Robinson, I still have him behind Mostert. So I'd probably just end up going with Kamara, White, Dell, Adams, and Mostert this week. Thank you. Moving on to Momo, who says 12-team PPR, 2 flex options of 9 and 2 currently. I have Tua, Purdy, Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, Dell, White, Swift, Kamara, Hall, Komet, McBride. Okay, we have New Orleans and Philadelphia defense. Any suggestions rest of the season? Appreciate you as always. So you have Tua and Purdy, solid options. Going to be consistent. You have Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and Ayuk. And Dell. No changes there. Rachaad White and Swift and Kamara. No changes there. Hall as well. You have Komet. Oh my gosh. McBride. I couldn't see a world in which in a 12-team league you could have a better team. Swift, Kamara, and White are all top 12 this week, and you have Hall. He could get better going forward. There's no better you can get at wide receiver. Unless you're like trading Ayuk and Dell, and you're just going and getting like Amon-Ra St. Brown just to like have one technically better wide receiver than the bunch. I guess you could do something of that extent, but ultimately you just have a solid team. I wouldn't even touch it at this point. Well done, Momo. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Rockout, who said the following. Where's Rockout's question? Have I gotten lost? I did. Rockout says full PPR, 1 running back, 1 flex. We have Charbonnet, Javonte Williams, McLaurin, and Reed. 1 running back, 1 flex. Okay, the running back I'd suggest playing is probably, let's see here, in a full PPR. Let me change the format. Where do I have Javonte? Javonte's there. I have Javonte ahead of Charbonnet, full PPR as your running back. As for McLaurin or Reed in a full PPR, I'll take McLaurin there. Thank you. Let's see here. Be Home says, start 2 Brees, Jacobs, Gus, or Achane if he plays. I don't know if he'll play, but let's say, for example, even if he does, I wouldn't play him ahead of the other two options you have. If it's my team, I'm playing Gus Edwards and I'm playing Josh Jacobs this week. Thank you. Moving on to Chris. Chris B says full PPR, play Charbonnet today or Achane / Jeff Wilson tomorrow. Other flex options are London, Noah Brown, Ty Chandler. I'd rather just play Charbonnet today in that case. Actually, it's a full PPR, so technically you could end up playing... Let me think about this. So yeah, this would probably be my suggestion. You wait. If, in fact, Achane doesn't play, you just play London. But yeah, I'm willing to wait and take the risk. Thank you. Moving on. Okay, we took care of those. Are been redacted. No problem. Sin Like Flynn says Singletary, Madison, or Chandler. I'll still take Singletary out of the group. Thank you. Logan Semple says, thank you. Says, happy Thanksgiving to you and your fam. Thank you very much. Standard scoring format. Looking for upside. One running back. Dylan, Hunt, Chandler. I mean, it honestly... Whew, I do not like the idea of playing either of the three. But if I was to have to pick one, it's probably just playing A.J. Dillon, considering I know he's going to have the full workload of his backfield by himself. While Kareem Hunt has to compete with Jerome Ford and Ty Chandler has to compete with Alexander Madison. And both those guys have to compete with a rushing quarterback. So for right now, I just play with Dillon in that spot. Thank you, Logan. Scrolling down, we had DeJane Jones. Where's that? DeJane Jones. There wasn't a message attached, so if you could type in the chat, we'd greatly appreciate it. We had Joe B sending a question. Joe, thank you. Joe says, playing Montgomery and Cook. I have Singletary. Is Pierce playing? Yes, Pierce is expected to play, but again, that isn't until Sunday, so we won't know 1,000% for sure, but I'm fairly certain. Let me check the injury report for the Houston Texans, see if it's up to date. Houston Texans injury report yesterday, Dameon Pierce practiced fully. So yes, he will be playing this week. Let's see. What's your follow-up? Metcalf, my fear is Lockett will take opportunities from him, and they play San Fran. I have DeMario Douglas, Jaden Reed, Douglas playing New York Giants. Look, I still prefer DK Metcalf. Joe, if you want to play DeMario Douglas and or Jaden Reed, go for it. But for right now, yeah, my suggestion would be to play Metcalf. And, of course, continue to play Montgomery and Cook there. Thank you. All right, scrolling back up from Joe's question, we had Tommy D. Thank you, Tommy. He says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. 2 questions. No IR spots for Andrews in this league. Okay, so just drop him. Hold him or just drop for downs for wide receiver depth. Also, yeah, just drop him. He's not going to play during this fantasy football season. If your championship is week 17, he will not play. Even if your championship is week 18, the likelihood is that he won't return until the NFL playoffs, if in fact he ever does return. So yeah, I would drop him. The only reason I would ever suggest holding on to him is if you have like a abundance of IR spots and or you play in a keeper kind of league. Also, please pick one from Hall, Warren, Achane, if fit, non-PPR. In a non-PPR scoring format, if I'm only playing one, I'd probably just run with Warren there for now. Considering I don't know if Achane's healthy and Hall is really just a PPR machine at this point. Thank you. Moving on to Nick, who has a question. Nick, where is your question? Nick says, Taysom Hill or Josh Jacobs in the flex? I'd rather have Josh Jacobs. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate the question. Moving on to Rogo, who says, in a half PPR, I'm 5 and 6. I'm in an 8-man league. I got Collins and Tank Dell. But my studs are Chase / AJ Brown / Devonta Smith. Can I trust Chase / AJ Brown? What's wrong with Dustin Hopkins? Dustin Hopkins has a backup quarterback, 3rd string quarterback, in fact. That limits their potential scoring every week. Do I play Matt Gay? Lutz, Joseph are available? Yeah, I'd rather pick up Will Lutz for the Denver Broncos this week. Can you trust AJ Brown and Chase? I mean, at this point, the rankings on screen should give you an indication as to how much you can technically trust them. I would be playing AJ Brown alongside of Tank Dell. And then if I was to play a 3rd wide receiver option, I'd rather play Devonta Smith over the bunch in comparison to Jamar Chase and or Nico Collins. Thank you. Alrighty. So who's the question that we were looking for earlier that wasn't attached? We were looking for DeJane says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. I have a half PPR league. I have Diggs, Eckler, Cup, Pittman, Gibbs, Pollard. I'm starting Diggs and Eckler. Can you pick 3 out of the others? Okay, so if you're starting Diggs and Eckler already, considering we don't know Cup status till Sunday, Gibbs has to play, Pollard has to play, and by the time if we get to Sunday, if Cup is active, you would play him over Michael Pittman Jr. If he's not, you have a great alternative option of playing Michael Pittman there. But yeah, today Gibbs and Pollard have to play. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from, let's see here, trying to catch up. After Rogo, we had Mason. Mason says, Josh Downs or A.J. Dillon in the flex. If it's a half PPR, I'd probably play A.J. Dillon. If it's a standard, I'd play A.J. Dillon. If it's a full PPR capacity, it's Josh Downs there. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from HFL5864. Says, I lost Burrow and Geno Smith is banged up. Should I roll with Geno Smith or stream Matthew Stafford, Will Levis, Mac Jones, Desmond Ridder, Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Not a good situation. Okay, so let me check my rankings at quarterback in comparison. I have Geno Smith ranked at number 19. He is ahead of all the other options you mentioned. No joke. I have Stafford at 21, Desmond Ridder at 23, Will Levis at 25, Dorian Thompson-Robinson 29. Like, they're not even close. So I'd rather play Geno there. Thank you. Moving on to Kaleo, who says, Evans, Devonta Smith, Ayuk, Nakua, start 3. I mean, yeah, at this point, it's Ayuk, Puka Nakua, Mike Evans. Thank you. Moving on, we had Cameron Kaplan, who says full PPR, Brian Robinson Jr. or Chris Olave. I'm fairly certain Antonio Gibson's playing today. So I think Olave is the higher ranked player. Olave is my number 34. Brian Robinson is my number 40 still. But yeah, I do prefer Olave. And Derek Carr fully participated in practice yesterday, so he's good to go. Cole sends in a question, says David Montgomery or Henry. My super chat didn't save. No problem. We got you, Cole. So between those two, I would say, why can't we start both? But if I can only start one, I'd play Derrick Henry. Thank you. Let's hear. Jonah John says PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. We have Puka, Ayuk, Javonte Williams, Charbonnet. Yeah, give me Puka and give me Ayuk there. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, John. Peter sends in a question, says, do I okay both Mike Evans and Rachaad White, or start one of Nico Collins, Amari Cooper, Javonte Williams? 100% you are good to go with starting Evans and White. Thank you. You're 100% good to go there. Peter, appreciate it. After Peter's question, we had one that came in from Nick Kane, who says in a full PPR, pick one, Evans, Cook, or Charbonnet. Evans, Cook, or... Yeah, no, I'd rather play Evans out of the bunch. Thank you. Moving on to Old J Running, who says, happy Thanksgiving, full PPR, start 3, Waddle, Hall, Pacheco, Mostert. Waddle, Hall, Pacheco, Mostert. In a full PPR capacity, I'd rather play Waddle, Hall, and Mostert. Thank you. Okay. We're good to go. We are good to go. That's full PPR, by the way. Half PPR, a little bit different. Appreciate it. Should I start Dak or Lamar? Joey, I prefer playing Lamar Jackson this week. If you don't like it, again, they're back-to-back ranked, so I think they're both going to have very similar productive weeks. So if you want to play Dak Prescott today, have a little bit more interest in the Thanksgiving Day games, I'm fully fine with going that direction. Okay. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers secondary is in shambles. So we got indications that Jair Alexander and Rudy Ford, who we were expecting to both probably not play, are both out this week. So that's not great for their secondary, but it is what it is. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the beast with the injuries that they've sustained as a defense. Okay, so we've caught up. Let me go ahead and change the rankings on screen to kicker and defense just so we're all on the same page. Do appreciate that. I wanted to go check something. I know that at 8:30, Underdog Fantasy's dropping like a play that you can make. Is it at 8:30? I think it is. At least that's the information I've been given. So maybe I'm leaking something, but I'm pretty sure at 8:30 something drops. Let me go and check. Let's see here. Yeah, 8:30 a.m. Maybe it is Eastern Standard. So that's already happened. Okay. So when's the next one? That's already happened. That already happened as well. Wait a minute. 1 p.m.? What's that for Eastern to... So at 10... Dang it. I already missed it. All right. No problem. Moving on. Answering some questions. Where are we at? After OJ running, we have Rob Jackson. Rob, thank you. Says, hey, Andrew, I need a flex in a full PPR. Addison, Charbonnet, or Pop Douglas. In a full PPR capacity, I'd probably lean towards playing Pop Douglas there. Thank you. Moving on to I Like Blue says, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. Full PPR. Who do I start between Swift, Bijan, Kamara, Etienne, This is a joke, right? What am I doing here? Swift, Bijan, Kamara, Etienne, Henry? What am I supposed to do with this? You gotta... I mean, you have a stacked roster. Dude. I mean, look, if we just follow the rankings on screen, Etienne, Kamara, and Henry have to play. They just have to play. So those are your 3 running backs. If you need 3 wide receivers, it's Diggs, it's Allen, and it's Pittman. If you need a flex outside of the 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers, probably end up playing Swift and Bijan. But my goodness, you have too stacked of a team. I don't know what the heck that is. That's not fair. That's what that is. Jorge Perez sends in a question. There wasn't anything attached to it. There it is. I found it. Says, also start... Okay, what do you mean also? Okay, it's a 2-part question. Got it. Happy Thanksgiving, says Jorge. Full PPR, I need 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. I have Mixon, Kyron Williams, Chandler, Nakua, Kupp, McLaurin, Addison, A.J. Brown. Okay, so you're starting Etienne and Dell. Not sure who to pick because of injuries. Okay, well, I mean, look, it's still early, right? So we have a lot of time for Kupp and A.J. Brown to kind of be settled, right? As of right now, if you need 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, and a flex out of the mentioned players, like the 1 running back I'd play is Kyron Williams. The 2 wide receivers of the available that you have would be A.J. Brown and Puka Nakua. And the flex going into Sunday, assuming Cooper Kupp is active, he would play. Otherwise, it's Mixon. And then you're good to go there. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Nat Nail in the chat said, happy Thanksgiving. Hurts and Kupp for Josh Allen and CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, I'll take the Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb side rest of the season. Thank you. All right, let's see here. After Jorge Perez's first question, where was your second one, Jorge? Let's see here. There it is. Also start Cowboys over Browns. Yeah, I do prefer the Cowboys defense over the Browns. Do you see Goddard coming back by week 17? I think that Goddard actually probably comes back by week 15, if I had to guess. The reason that they didn't put him on the injured reserve is because they do anticipate that he could return sooner than the 4-game designation of which it would force him to miss. So, like, if I go look at the Eagles' schedule, so considering Dallas Goedert got injured in the game against the Dallas Cowboys, right? They didn't put him on the injured reserve because he would have not been eligible to be active until 1, 2, 3, 4. So he would not have been eligible until, so week 15 is, whether they put him on the injured reserve or not, he probably comes back week 14 or 15 if I had to guess. One of those two specific weeks. Thank you. Alrighty, let's scroll down here. We had one that came in from Trojan3659 who says, in a half PPR, I have Bijan Robinson, I have Kamara, Kyron Williams, Rashad White, Etienne, need 3. Etienne 1, Kamara 2, Bijan Robinson number 3. Thank you. Marcus Riley says, in a PPR, pick 2, Collins, Debo, Reed, Brian Robinson Jr., and Addison. Pick 2 out of those options. If I'm only playing 2 of the bunch, I'll probably just suggest playing Brian Robinson Jr. alongside of Nico Collins there. Noah Brown didn't practice yesterday, probably ends up missing another week here. It only elevates the potential of Nico Collins' overall contribution. So Nico Collins alongside of Brian Robinson. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Kevin T. Kevin, where is your question? I don't even see it. Maybe it's in the chat. Nothing in the chat yet, Kevin. Type it when you have the opportunity. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Ron Morris says, LOL, stacked teams have the hardest, are the hardest to make decisions. Yeah, 100%. When you play in a 6-team, 8-team league, you're honestly just playing DFS at that point. You know what I mean? Like it's your decisions aren't made for you by like the lack of depth that you have. Because you have so much ridiculous depth, you're like, wait, I have to sit Bijan Robinson? And yeah, I mean, if you do, then you do. Ron Morris says, Kyron Williams feels like a trap. I feel like Royce Freeman is going to get a mix in 50-50. So what I heard earlier this week from Sean McVay, who has the interview in which Sean McVay gave, sometimes he tries to keep stuff, underneath wraps, but What he typically, or QB rankings, yeah, I got you. What he typically does is he's kind of a straight shooter at times, and when he does just kind of, send it right down the line, he's not really BSing. He did say that the expectation for this week is that if there's no setbacks for Kyren Williams, he would get back to his full workload of opportunity, like he had earlier this season. And I don't actually think he's BSing us. That's why I've kind of moved up Kyren Williams just a tad bit in terms of my overall ranking since Tuesday, since hearing that from Sean McVay. So I do expect him to be regularly utilized. And considering that they take on Arizona, I mean, it's such a good matchup. I mean, the last time he played against Arizona, what did he do? He had like 100 rushing yards in the second half. I don't think it'll be that big of a trap. But I can understand, your side of that. Okay, so this guy's getting banned. Goodbye. Keep moving. Alrighty. Jamie sends in a question. Says, full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 flex. Who do I bench? I have Eckler, Bijan, Kyren Williams, Keenan Allen, Dell, Adams, and Olave. Okay, so Keenan Allen and Tank Dell have to play a wide receiver. So those are your 2 wide receivers. Austin Eckler and Bijan Robinson have to play a running back. And then as for your flex plays in a full PPR capacity, if it's between Adams, Olave, and Kyren Williams, in a full PPR, I have Olave there. I have Adams. Where's Adams? I have Adams there, and I have Kyren Williams there. Yeah, so as of right now, my suggestion, again, from the top, Jamie, would be Keenan Allen, Tank Dell, Eckler, Bijan, Kyren Williams, Devontae Adams. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we had a question that came in from, let me see here. Where the heck is Kevin T? Kevin T says, full PPR, Charbonnet or Flowers? I would wait for Flowers if I was you. I would wait. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Much love. We had a question that rolled in from Michael Ramirez. Michael, there wasn't a message attached to it, but I can maybe find it. Yeah, I found your question. Full PPR, 4 flex. James Cook, AJ Dillon, Tyler Lockett, Najee Harris. Also, I have Rashid Rice. Sorry. You have Rashid Shaheed. I thought you were spelling it wrong. I was like, what? Doesn't matter. You have Rashid Shaheed and Jalen Reed. So, James Cook, AJ Dillon, Tyler Lockett, Najee Harris, Rashid Shaheed, and Jalen Reed. Jalen Reed? Yeah, look, everything's messed up here. I was about to say, I was like, what's going on here? Everything was just... Okay, anyway, it's Jaden Reed. Nonetheless, doesn't matter. I know what you meant. James Cook or Tyler Lockett is pretty much the question in a full PPR. So let's get to it. Lockett is 55. And where's James Cook? James Cook is lower. I would play Lockett this week. Out of the bunch there, Michael. Thank you. Okay, we had a question that came in from... I don't even know how to pronounce that name. Noe? I don't even know what the accent mark would make it. Let's see here. Does it say it's French? Okay. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to listen to the name so I know how to pronounce names.com. Let's hear this. Yeah, all right. Noe. Or Noe. I don't know. At this point. Thank you. Let's just put it that way. Is there even a message attached to it? Says full PPR, Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson. And then also, are you sure about Kyren Williams over Breece Hall? Yes, I am. So if we're talking about Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall full PPR, let's see. Where's Garrett Wilson? Garrett Wilson is there. Boom, boom. Yeah. Yeah, in your circumstance, Noah, I would probably end up playing both those running backs if you have an opportunity of doing so. Kyren Williams and Breece Hall. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Anthony Gonzalez. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. It says start 3, Ramondre, Gus, Zay Flowers, Ford, Singletary, Madison. I don't want to play Singletary. I don't want to play Madison. I want to play Gus Edwards. I want to play Ramondre. And honestly, I'd probably play Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers as well in a full PPR capacity over Jerome Ford. So yeah, Ramondre, Gus Edwards, Zay Flowers. Those are the 3. Man, I am cooked brain, man. You know, this is the problem, right? When we've jumped from typically having a Sunday morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. live stream to now moving it to Thursday, my brain's just not prepared for it. That's just the fact of the matter. But I'm here. I'm trying my best. Hope you guys are doing well. For those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. If you have not yet already, be sure to click the like button down below. On top of that, keep in mind, if you guys have signed up via Patreon, the rankings have already been posted this morning. If you've signed up via Underdog Fantasy, using code Andrew, making that first time deposit minimum of $10, because there's 3 games today, I've sent out those rankings earlier this morning. So be sure to check out your email that's associated with your Underdog account in regards to getting those rankings from this morning that were sent out. Again, it's should be in your spam folder if in fact it's not in your main folder. So keep an eye on that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so a couple more questions that were sent in. We have Mike Will, who says, full PPR, Collins, Warren, and Gus for Dell, Connor, and Jets defense. I already have Montgomery and Swift. Was it worth the wide receiver swap? So you're sending Collins, Warren, and Gus Edwards for Dell and Connor. So basically, you're doing a 3-for-1 at this point because the Jets defense is irrelevant to me. Connor is irrelevant considering his fantasy playoff schedule. Collins, Warren, and Gus for Tank Dell. I think you gave up too much. I mean, unless you've got some ridiculous... I mean, I understand you have Montgomery and Swift, but like giving away Gus the Bus Edwards at the capacity which he's been playing, I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I like it. I you know what? In fact, I dislike it, to be totally honest. Maybe not something you wanted to hear, Mike, but that's just my honest truth. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Trey. Trey says, full PPR, RB2 in a flex. We have Tank Dell, Breece Hall, Romeo Dobbs. Nope, that's not Romeo Dobbs. That's Ramondre and Kyren Williams. So of the bunch, I will take Tank Dell as your flex, and I'll take Kyren Williams as your running back too. Thank you. Noah says, yeah, you pronounced it correctly. Okay, cool. Appreciate the confirmation. Brian Villanueva sends in a question. Says, half PPR, pick one, Foreman, what is that? C/J Watson. So that's Christian or Justin Watson, JSN or Dotson. If I'm playing, okay, so here's the thing. Foreman plays on Monday, which in that circumstance makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to play him considering we don't know his status. So for right now, if it's between Justin Watson, Christian Watson, Dotson, and JSN, I have, let's see here. It's a half PPR, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me go back. Let's check this out. So in a half PPR capacity, I have Jahan Dotson. So I have Christian Watson 47, Jahan Dotson 48. Right back to one another. So out of the group, I will take Christian Watson. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Dome sends in a question. Says full PPR, trade Javonte Williams for Nico Collins. Probably not. Because Noah Brown will eventually return and Tank Dell will probably continue to be the number 1. It's going to be difficult for me to give away Javonte Williams in this current moment in a full PPR. I feel like you should be able to get more in exchange for him anyway. So I wouldn't. Thank you. Let's see here. Marco's in the chat was saying, happy Thanksgiving, full PPR. No, that's a half PPR question. Need 2 flex, Kittle, Addison, Collins, or Charbonnet. I have Hawkinson. Yeah, I mean, look, Marcos, you know that you should be playing Kittle alongside of Hawkinson for sure. And then if I'm suggesting another alternative option on top of that, I'd probably also play Collins. So I'd probably go Kittle and Collins there. All right, let's see here. Let me scroll down. We had a question from Arda. Thank you, Arda. It says, standard start 3, Pollard, Montgomery, Swift, Kenneth Walker, and Chris Olave. So of those available options, in a standard scoring format, Kenneth Walker's not playing, so don't even worry about it. Start all 3 of your other running backs. Pollard, Montgomery, and DeAndre Swift should be fired up. Thank you. Xavier W. says, should I trade Cooper Kupp? What's his value? I mean, I think the value of Cooper Kupp is basically in the eye of the beholder, right? That's the saying. Basically, the value in your league of Cooper Kupp is what someone's willing to give you for him. So if you're able to, I mean, you have Etienne, you have Mixon, you have David Montgomery, Ty Chandler, Zach Charbonnet. You have Olave, Allen, Pop Douglas, JSN. If you're going to give away Cooper Kupp, you better be getting back a top 12 wide receiver, in my mind, because that's what his potential is, always. So if you're trading away Cooper Kupp, at the very least, I better be getting back some of the capacity of a Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, at least. Otherwise, yeah. But that's the thing, right? Because he's injured on top of it, you may not even be able to get somebody of that caliber. Nick sends in a question, says, full PPR. I need a wide receiver 3 out of Higgins, JSN, Dotson, and Watson. So like I was okay, so let's check the full PPR ranking here. So JSN, Watson, Dotson, and Higgins, right? So of the group, JSN's ranked the lowest, then it's Higgins, and then it's Jahan Dotson ahead of Christian Watson. So from what we've learned in the last 4 or 5 minutes here, in a full PPR, I have Jahan Dotson ahead of Christian Watson. In a half PPR, I have Christian Watson ahead of Jahan Dotson, okay? Well, makes sense? Cool, thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Nick. Nick, thank you very much. Says, in a full PPR, I need 3 wide... Okay, we need 3 wide receivers out of... No, I need a wide receiver 3, not 3 wide receivers. We're good. The question will be answered with playing Jahan Dotson there. Thank you. Our Gold 9 says, full PPR, Evan Ingram or Devin and Laporta or Zach Charbonnet. I'm so confused. Full PPR, Ingram or Devin and okay, got it. 2 separate questions. Ingram or Devin Singletary, I'm assuming. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Evan Ingram. Follow-up question, Laporta or Zach Charbonnet in a full PPR capacity? Let me check where I have Laporta in comparison to Charbs in a full PPR. I have Laporta at 63 and Charbs at 67. I'll take both the tight ends there. Give me Ingram and give me Laporta there. Our Gold 9, thank you. Craig says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. Half PPR. Flex, who am I starting? Deontay Johnson, Madison, Rashee Rice, Dalton Schultz, Keaton Mitchell. If we're only starting one out of the bunch, I don't really want to play Rashee Rice at the moment. Since the return of a lot of those injured wide receivers, specifically Justin Watson, there's obviously less opportunity share within that offense. So I don't like him too much. I don't really love Madison either. It's pretty much either between Dalton Schultz or Deontay Johnson. Keaton Mitchell's kind of a wild card. Could be great. Could be another 5-point week. So for right now, if I'm picking between the two, I'd probably just lean in the direction of going Deontay Johnson there. If it was a standard league, I'd probably say Schultz just for touchdown upside. But for right now, half PPR, I'll take Deontay. Thank you. Vic84 says, happy Thanksgiving, Andy. Full PPR, flex 1, Ford, Singletary, Downs, Lockett. In a full PPR, it's Lockett. Any underdog pick suggestions? Thank you. So as for today, in regards to potential suggestions, let me see if I can pop this up on screen just so we can look at it together. Where is it? Here we go. So, look at the very top of the screen. It says, we'll match your first time deposit up to 100. You see that? Boom. Just use code Andrew. Thank you. Okay, so in terms of plays, look, the best plays that potentially are in line here, like I feel like Romeo Doubs should very easily be able to surpass this number. It's less than 8 fantasy points. The guy's been an absolute. He scored a touchdown in 4 out of the last 5 games. I don't know. Jaden Reed has been able to surpass this number on multiple occasions as well. That seems like a pretty solid number there as well, in terms of just off first glance. As for the rest of the games today, at this point, I have a hard time thinking that both these running backs don't score a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 6.5 receptions seems like a steal. Let me see here real quick. Yeah, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown at 6.5 receptions is probably the steal of the day. Let me check this real quick. All right, his last 5 games, 8, 8, 6, 13, 12. At this point, I'll take the 6.5 receptions. Actually, at this point, while I'm here, I'll probably just take this alongside of. Honestly, I do think, regardless, he scores a touchdown. And if I'm picking between these 2 receivers, I think it should be very likely that he scores over 8 fantasy points this week. Yeah, those are the 3 that I like for right now. I'd have to look at Jaden Reed a little bit more. I'm making that play. So those are my couple suggestions off rip. Thank you. Moving back. We had a question that says, from Get Knowledge, says, happy Thanksgiving Day. Thank you very much. Full PPR, tight end Logan Thomas, Likely, or Cade Otton. Need the win. I will play Isaiah Likely there. Thank you. Moving on to Colin Smith, who says in a 12-team half PPR, I needed depth. Traded AJ/Warren for King Henry, Metcalf, and Addison. Okay. Okay. I mean, let's hope that Henry just really starts piling up big wins here on a weekly basis. Let's just hope for it. That's all I can hope for. Because really, at that point, we all know that there's a huge, discount that you took going from AJ Brown to DK Metcalf. So let's hope that Henry's able to close the gap. Thank you. Vance Hicken sends in a question. Says, "Happy Thanksgiving. Can you break down Love versus Stafford?" Yeah, the issue that I have with Stafford is that I don't even know if Cooper Kupp is playing. Until I know that that is an indication, which we won't know until Sunday, it's very difficult to trust Stafford in any sort of capacity. I understand that he plays against the Arizona Cardinals. It is a really advantageous matchup, but very seldom this season have we ever seen very seldom this season have we ever seen Matthew Stafford have really high, potential for upside in terms of touchdowns, throughout a singular game. The return of Kyren Williams also implies that there's going to be more potential for a rushing touchdown going towards those running backs. I mean, those have also been present the last couple of weeks, even in the absence of Kyren Williams. But yeah, I don't trust the potential of him getting himself a 250 yards, 2 passing touchdown game in comparison to Jordan Love, who does that on a consistent basis. There's just been no consistency out of Stafford as of late. Cameron Kaplan says full PPR, Ramondre or Waddle? Full PPR. Oh man, that one's that's definitely not an easy question to answer. Ramondre or Waddle? Typically, it would just be like hey, you're playing Waddle, and it's not even a question. I have Waddle at 42 and Ramondre at 44 in a full PPR. They're literally back-to-back to each other. I would honestly, let me see here real quick. They're both in the same tier as well. They're literally both in the same tier. So at this point, I don't mind playing either of the two. I would probably say the safer play is most likely Ramondre Stevenson, but the higher upside is on the side of Jalen Waddle. Thank you. Zen O'Malley says Joe Mixon or Nico Collins, half PPR. Yeah, if I'm playing in a half PPR, I'd rather play Joe Mixon this week. Thank you. Okay. Cool. Good to go. Cardiac Johnson's like banned. Yeah, you know it, man. All right, cool. We're good to go. All right, we've caught up there. Good to go. We move on to, where's the next question? So we took care of Zen O'Malley. We move on to Duncan Kelly. Duncan, thank you. Says Deontay Johnson or Brian Robinson Jr. in a full PPR. Let's see who I have ranked higher. Full PPR, Control F, Brian Robinson. I have Brian Robinson ahead of him. Yeah, I'll take Brian Robinson there. They're relatively close in terms of ranking, but yeah, I do have Brian Robinson ahead. Retro Gandalf says 10-team full PPR: Fields, Eckler, Swift, Bijan, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Kyren Williams, Stevenson, Goff, Taysom Hill, or is that Tyreek Hill? I don't know. Ty Chandler, any changes? So you have Eckler, Swift, Bijan, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb. Your bench is Kyren Williams, Stevenson. Yeah, I'm not making any changes there. You're good to go. And I'm assuming that's Taysom Hill, not Tyreek Hill on your bench. Thank you. Thank you, Retro. Appreciate it. Arda says, Andrew, KW is Kyren Williams, not Kenneth Walker. Got it. Let me look at your other question, Arda. Pollard, Montgomery, Swift, Kyren Williams. So yeah, if I'm still playing 3 out of the bunch, I will still take the 3 that I suggested from earlier. I will still take Montgomery. I will still take Pollard and Swift there. Thank you, Arda. Appreciate it. Sorry for the miscommunication there. Kicker and defense ranking? Sure. Let me go ahead and pop those up on screen. We're good to go. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Let's scroll back up here. Michael Ortiz sends in a question. Thank you, Michael. Says, my brother, in a full PPR, I need 1 running back and a flex. Connor, Charbonnet, Najee, Ridley, Amari Cooper, and your thoughts on the dropping the Vikings for Broncos defense. Yeah, look, the Vikings defense, I mean, they're likely going to at least cause 1 turnover because Justin Fields somehow will either drop the ball or throw it to the other team. at least once. But I do think that this Bears offense is going to be able to score on that defense. So I'm not as comfortable there in comparison to playing the Broncos defense, who has played significantly better in their last, 4-game consecutive winning streak. They've played against great quarterbacks and now have an opportunity of taking on a third-string quarterback in the form of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So the Broncos defense is a great play there this week. As for your prior question, though, one running back and one flex between Connor, Charbonnet, Najee, Ridley, and Cooper. I'd play Ridley as your primary flex in a full PPR, and I would suggest in a full PPR at running back, is it Connor, Charbonnet, or Najee? Let's check. Most likely is going to be Charbs. Yeah, it is Charbonnet. So Charbonnet, Ridley, Broncos defense. Thank you. Scrolling down. Where are we at? Okay, we had a question that came in from Stu. Thank you, Stu. Appreciate it. It says full PPR. Ranking in order for flex and why. Okay, listen, I'm not going to be able to explain for why. You have 10 players here, dude. I'll be here for 2.5 hours, but I do appreciate it, Stu. Let's see what we can do here. So, Thielen, Waddle, Kyren Williams, Jalen Warren, Charbonnet. Thielen, Waddle, Kyren Williams, Warren, Charbonnet. Okay, so of those players, if I was to rank them in a full PPR capacity, Kyren Williams, number 1, Thielen, number 2, Waddle 3, Warren 4, Charbonnet 5. As for your quarterbacks, Tua, Goff, Howell. If I'm playing one, let me change the rankings on screen just so we're all on the same page. I have Tua at number 13. I have Goff at number 14. I have Howell at number 15. So literally all three back to back. Puka Nacua. What am I doing, man? My brain is fried. What has happened to me? So anyway, in regards to Tua Tagovailoa, okay, the issue that I have with that offense primarily is because, as of late, they really haven't been the greatest show on turf that they have been in, from the beginning of the season, the first 4 weeks. Like, yes, Tua always has the potential, but in comparison, if I look at him in Goff, like Goff is going to have always the potential of his running back scoring all the touchdowns within a given week and hurting his value. Sam Howell has a ridiculously difficult matchup and is the lesser quarterback option considering the pieces that surround him. So I'll just take Tua there. I said Puka instead of Tua. At this point, it's close enough. Thank you again, Stu. Sven sent in a question. Or we can call it S-Zen. But yeah, Sven. Who do I start? I'm 7-4, half PPR league. 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. I have Diggs, Allen, Chase, Downs, Douglas. Running backs are JT, Hall, Stevenson, Warren, Charbonnet. At this point, 2 wide receivers that I would suggest starting are Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs. The 2 running backs I would suggest playing are Jonathan Taylor alongside of Ramondre Stevenson there. And then the final option that you would play in your flex between Chase, Hall. Yeah, Chase and Hall would be at half PPR. Who do I rank higher? I'm fairly certain it's Chase, but I could be. Let me see here. Yeah, I have Jamar Chase at 42, Breece Hall at 43, back to back in my half PPR. Chase would be the suggestion, though. Cardiac Johnson said Foreman didn't practice today. Yeah, again, there's my concern starting to build up. Rogo says quick question below. Yeah, let me see if I can get to it. Rogo says I got White, Warren, and Sharps. Play Sharps as my RB2 because I can guarantee touches. Stick with list / Warren. Thanks, dude. You have White, Warren, and Charbonnet. Look, if it's my team, I'd rather play Warren. I think the offensive coordinator change may end up giving Warren more touches. Like, as of late, and like what we saw from, or what we even expected in the offseason, right? We said it where Warren has the potential of overtaking this backfield, just like Austin Eckler did to Melvin Gordon all those years ago, back in 2018, 2019. Like there's always the potential of that taking place. And considering Najee Harris hasn't played up to his, potential this season thus far, there's even more, potential that Warren, considering he's coming off of 2 ridiculously great performances, could just continue to carve out more workload in this backfield. especially with the coordinator change. So I wouldn't mind just playing White alongside Warren there over Charbonnet. But I can understand playing Charbonnet because you have the guaranteed, hey, no one in this backfield. I guess DJ Dallas may get a couple touches here and there, but no one else is going to impede on his value. But at that point, you need to guarantee a Charbonnet touchdown. Otherwise, I don't know if the receiving work is going to be able to carry him within the given week. Unless you play in a full PPR, and at that point, it could. That would be the only way. Navy Vet says, start Ramondre Stevenson or Jalen Warren. First of all, your name is Navy Vet. Thank you for your service. Greatly appreciate it. As for Ramondre Stevenson or Jalen Warren, between the two of them, let's see here. Ramondre. So I don't know what your scoring format is, but let's say, for example, in some world, you perhaps play in, let's say you play in a half PPR. Yeah, let's just say you play in a half PPR, beating everyone in the middle, whether you play standard or full PPR. I'd rather play Ramondre Stevenson over Jalen Waddle this week. And honestly, even in a full PPR, like I was mentioning earlier to somebody else, I think Ramondre is probably the safer play within the given week. The issue is I can't guarantee that Ramondre falls into the end zone because the offense sucks for the Patriots so much in comparison to Waddle, who could easily score a touchdown this week. So, yeah, for right now, Ramondre is my suggestion there, Navy Vet. Thank you. Somebody in the chat was saying, what is this? Scott says, Andrew, why Will Lutz ranked number 1? Browns are second best versus kickers. Yeah, but look, here's the thing. Second best versus kickers, it literally means nothing. Here's the entire situation, right? When you take on a defense like the Cleveland Browns, yes, it is going to be difficult, but that's what we're hoping for. We want it to be difficult. We want it to be, at a position to where the Denver Broncos could very rarely get the ball into the red zone, because if in fact they're sitting around the 40-yard range, just like they've done in the last 4 weeks, he has scored, I think, 4+ field goals in 3 of the last 4 games he's played. That's Will Lutz. Like, if they're just going to keep kicking field goals because the offense can't score touchdowns, I mean, what more can we ask for at that point? So that's why I like Will Lutz as much as I do. Defensive rankings, yeah, here you go. Boom. Thank you. Purdy or Herbert? I mean, look, Brock Purdy's just been playing out of his mind. I don't think there's a way of not playing him as of late. Luke C sends in a question, says, why not Ramondre over Pollard or David Montgomery? Just touchdown upside. That's purely what it is. If I was going to get a guarantee that Pollard and or David Montgomery wouldn't score a touchdown today, or if they didn't have a higher likelihood of doing so, considering their offenses and just the volume of trips that they get down into the red zone in comparison to the New England Patriots, which is pretty much none as of late, just the volume itself, it is the leading factor. But if none of them were going to score a touchdown this week, Ramondre would probably in a full PPR outscore the two based on yardage and receptions alone. Because again, he does play, he takes on the New York Giants, which is such a great matchup. Let's see here. Pollard blowout potential. I don't think it'll be a blowout. There's no way. If the Washington Commanders get blown out today, I will be actually surprised, because Washington doesn't get blown out. The last time they got blown out this season was, technically you could consider the game against the Chicago Bears Thursday Night Football as a blowout. They lost like 40-20, but they still powered through and had a lot of garbage time points in the second half. And then I guess the time prior to that in which they got blown out was against the Bills earlier this season. That's probably the actual definition of a blowout, to where they lost and they only put up like 3 points as an offense. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Howell threw four picks in that game, something of that extent. Unless he does something of that nature, throws 4 picks today, I'm still comfortable with Pollard and Montgomery over Ramondre. John S says, who would you start, Pop Douglas or Hollywood Brown full PPR? Douglas feels safer. Yeah, he is. He'd probably be the play there, John. Bodie Derby says, happy Thanksgiving. Pick 2 full PPR. Lockett, Connor, Downs. Do you think Justin will play after the bye? Justin Jefferson, he should. Look, the reason they didn't put him back on the injured reserve was because, they wanted to get him practicing within the offense for the next couple weeks so they could ramp him up. Unfortunately, it's taken a lot longer to ramp him up, considering they've been on a win streak and they really don't need him back. And the NFC is a less competitive division in comparison to the AFC, so they don't technically need him to return. That all being said, yes, he should be able to play after the bye week. It is safer for them not to play him this week because, again, the Minnesota Vikings obviously have their bye in week 13. Nonetheless, to answer your question, I'd play Lockett and I'd play Josh Downs there. Thank you, Bodie. Appreciate it. Okay. We get it. Spam bot. We get it. Relax. I never thought I'd get to a point to where there's no way, right? Low, if that's a misclick, I need you to remove it, man. There's no way. You got to remove that. That's too much. That's got to be a misclick, right? Low Kane, hello? You there? Anybody? Hello? That's way too much, man. That's way too much. That's got to be a misclick. If it is, get rid of it. If it's not, I mean, you're the fucking best. That's ridiculous. That's way too generous. I mean, good. I mean, you could have signed up for Patreon for the whole season with that. I mean, what are we doing? At this point, I mean, goodness gracious, Lo. No, it's love you. I love you. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you very much, Lo. That's fucking incredible. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Lo, what's your question here? We have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Set my lineup out of the following team. Okay, so Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray. I do prefer Trevor Lawrence there, taking on Houston. As for your running backs, JT Ford, Kyron Williams, Montgomery. If we're starting 2 running backs, it's JT and Montgomery. You play Montgomery today prior to the game. That starts in about 30 minutes. As for your wide receivers, you have 2 of them. Tyreek Hill and Keenan Allen have to play. Your tight end between McBride and Mayer, it has to be McBride. And then your flex this week is... Lo, what's your scoring format? Because I'm leaning towards playing Kyron Williams there in the flex. But I could be convinced to play Ridley instead if it's a full PPR. Let me see. Where's my full PPR rankings comparatively? Ridley is at 38. Where's Kyron Williams? Kyron Williams is still higher. Never mind. So my suggestion, Low, would be Trevor Lawrence, JT, Montgomery, Tyreek, Keenan Allen, McBride, and Kyron Williams there. Thank you. Much love. Appreciate it, man. That's just ridiculous. That was, whew, sheesh. Hugo sends in a question. Hugo says, Tucker, Kraft, or Otten? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can trust a backup tight end for the Green Bay Packers. So for right now, I lean towards playing Cade Otten. I know that Musgrave's on the injury reserve. Thank you. Scrolling down. Green Bay defenders injury updates. Yeah, they're all in shambles. I know that for a fact, as of right now, there's no Jair Alexander and there's no Rudy Ford. So their whole secondary is pretty much out for another consecutive week. I mean, if in fact they choose to do so and they choose to pass the ball, should be in a good spot. I think they don't have to pass the ball in Detroit. They just need to run the ball and they'll win easily. You know, last week there was a chance that Sam Laporta could have very easily scored a touchdown. When I was watching that game back, guys, there was I think it was the third drive, the third offensive drive of the series of the game, early first half. They're in the red zone. They go to 5 wide set. They get a first down with Amon-Ra St. Brown on a third down. Then they follow up with Amon-Ra St. Brown running a little arrow to the pylon. They're running a high-low concept there on the left side of the screen. Instead of having just an easy touchdown pass to Sam Laporta, who's wide open because the secondary member literally bites down onto Amon-Ra, instead of scoring a touchdown with Laporta, Goff throws it incomplete to things. So like Goff, even though it's a really good matchup, and there's so many injuries in that secondary, some of the decision-making he has is just always suspect. Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. All right, moving on. We had a couple questions here. Where are we at? Rob says, in a half PPR, trade Breece Hall and Nico Collins for Swift. I'm playoff bound with Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb already as my wide receivers. I'm thinking of playoff schedule, but I'm worried about injury. I mean, at this point, under the assumption, right? So if the Jets lose tomorrow, there's no chance that Aaron Rodgers comes back because they're out of playoff contention. They would have less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs. So at that point, Breece Hall would just be subject to whoever's playing quarterback, who we know it's not going to be Zach Wilson for the remainder of the year. So it's either going to be Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian. At that point, considering Swift's strength of schedule in the fantasy playoffs being literally the best, I'd be willing to make the move, considering what you have a wide receiver alternatively. Thank you. Shannon Yoon. Thank you, Shannon. Says full PPR. Deontay Johnson, Pop Douglas. I'll take Deontay Johnson there. Also, pick 3, Bijan Robinson, Pollard, Eckler, Warren. I'll take Eckler, Bijan, Pollard. Thank you. Michael Brown says Jaden Reed or Najee Harris in the flex full PPR. In a full PPR, I'd probably take Jaden Reed there, honestly. Najee Harris needs a touchdown to be fantasy relevant in comparison to Jaden Reed, who could very easily get the job done just off receiving statistics alone. And if he keeps getting rushing work, I mean, that's even better. Julian Connor sends in a question. Says, do I accept Bijan and Terry for Diggs? My running backs are Warren, Singletary, Khalil Herbert. My wide receivers are Diggs, Nico Collins, Lockett, Amari Cooper, and JSN. Considering your running back depth, I honestly would say yes. I would take that. In a half PPR, I would take it. I take Bijan Robinson and Terry McLaurin rest of the season over Diggs. Diggs is a great player, but considering you need the running back, because I mean, I don't know what we're going to see out of Singletary with the return of Dameon Pierce coming back now. Most likely going to be a 50-50 split between the two of them. Khalil Herbert probably going to split with either Roshan Johnson or Deontay Foreman for the remainder of the year. It's pretty much just you playing Warren alongside of Bijan and then playing Terry McLaurin alongside of Nico Collins, Lockett, and Amari Cooper for the remainder of the season. So yeah, I'll take that, Julian. Thank you. Alex Songrass. Thank you, Alex. Says, happy Thanksgiving, Andrew. Full PPR, Ridley, Charbonnet, or Javonte Williams. Ridley, Charbonnet, Javonte. In a full PPR capacity, I'll take Ridley there. Thank you. Laporta or Kincaid, full PPR, says Alistar. I'll take Kincaid there. And the underdog picks, yeah, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown going higher than his 6.5 receptions. I like Romeo Doubs going higher than his fantasy point total, which I think is at 7.85. And I like Jahmyr Gibbs anytime touchdown. Those are the 3 that I like today. Okay, so where are we at? Okay. For those of you who are just joining us this morning, welcome, good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys are doing well. Couple reminders. Again, rankings on screen are up to date as of this morning. Let me go ahead and change back to tight end and quarterback rankings. Again, we didn't have a tight end and quarterback ranking video this week. Again, a little bit of a shorter week because there's 3 games on a Thursday, and it's not an afternoon night game. It's in fact a game that starts in 26 minutes. So keep that in mind. Thank you very much. If you are a Patreon member, rankings have already been posted. If you've signed up using code Andrew via Underdog Fantasy from August 1st, 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight, those rankings have been sent out to your email. Check your spam folders if you haven't gotten them in your main box. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Jorge Perez. Jorge, where you at, my man? Jorge says, full PPR, Greg Joseph. I have Greg Joseph. Should I keep him or pick up Lutz off the waivers? So here's my thought process. Considering Greg Joseph has a bye week next week, I would make the swap. I would just make the swap. Thank you. Marion Garcia says, happy Thanksgiving. Dobbs or Lawrence, can't decide. Between the two, I mean, they're both really good plays. They really are. I would assume that Trevor Lawrence, man, he has been highly inconsistent. Last week, I was talking about, well, Trevor Lawrence hasn't had a 2-touchdown game more than once this season, and he has 4 touchdowns last week. Like, of course, just to kind of spite me. Between the two of them, I do prefer Lawrence, primarily because, here's my thought process ultimately. Like, unless Josh Dobbs is guaranteed for that rushing touchdown, which again, it's not always guaranteed. Unless he's guaranteed, I don't see him outscoring Trevor Lawrence in the given week. They're most likely, especially considering they're taking on Houston, going to be a high-scoring game back and forth because I'm assuming C.J. Stroud's going to light it up as well. So that'll probably be a game. I mean, what's the implicated total points there? Let me see here. It probably is one of the highest implicated totals of the week. If I go to odds, let's see here. If I go to total, the Jacksonville game, it is the second highest implicated total of the week in terms of total points scored. So it's going to be a shootout. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from 313 Rico or Richo. Says, in a full PPR, who do I start as my wide receiver 2? Brandon Cooks, Jordan Addison, Josh Downs, Jacoby Myers. If it's my team, I would start Josh Downs as your wide receiver 2. I like the idea of Brandon Cooks because of the matchup against the Washington Commanders, and they're the 4th best wide receiver matchup. But I could always see, considering it has been the case, I could see Jalen Tolbert scoring a touchdown. I could see Michael Gallup scoring a touchdown. I could see Kevontae Turpin scoring a touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys today. there's just no guarantee for that wide receiver 2 of the Cowboys to get consistent opportunity. So for right now, I'll take Josh Downs in an advantageous matchup against Tampa Bay, which is the second best wide receiver matchup in the week. Zarif sends in a question. Says, happy Turkey Day. Sit 2. I have DK Metcalf, Trevor, what is this? Chris Olave or Isaiah Pacheco in a full PPR. If I'm sitting 2 in a full PPR capacity this week, I'm probably sitting Olave alongside of Isaiah Pacheco. I'll start DK Metcalf there. Thank you. Gerard W says, wow, you're an 11-0 team, huh? 12-team league, 11-0. Been starting Tua because of Hill Stack. Thinking of starting Stroud. Yeah, I would. Should I stick with him? Oh, it's been working. I mean, look, here's the thought process. If it's been working, if it's not broke, why fix it, right? But that being said, I do prefer CJ Stroud. Thank you, man. Lori Yogi says, full PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a singular flex. Christian McCaffrey, Chuba Hubbard, Najee Harris, Nathan Singletary, Romeo Doubs, Hollywood Brown, Addison Douglas. Okay, so 2 running backs. Christian McCaffrey, you know that you're starting him. As for Najee Harris, Chuba Hubbard, Devin Singletary, at this point, I'm probably playing Najee Harris as that RB2. Don't love it, but it's going to work in your scenario. As for the follow-up there, as for wide receivers, Hollywood, Dobbs, Addison, Douglas. I'll take Dobbs and Hollywood, and that flex Douglas there. Thank you. Moving on to Danny Morales. Says, full PPR. I need a win this week. Don't we all, my brother? Don't we all? 5-6 currently. Do I start Pacheco or Zach Charbonnet as my RB2? What is it? Is it full PPR? Yeah, and a full PPR, I really like Pacheco against the Vegas Raiders. What's your follow-up? Okay, RB2 or flex, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, or one of my RB2s, as I mentioned. So yeah, here's my first and foremost suggestion, Danny. We're playing Puka Nacua as your flex. That's for sure, especially in a full PPR capacity. But as for Zach Charbonnet and and Isaiah Pacheco in a full PPR, I just have a hard time sitting Isaiah Pacheco there. Like the volume of touches he had last week, even though, I mean, look, the Kansas City Chiefs ran the ball 30 times against the Philadelphia Eagles. You shouldn't run the ball against the Philadelphia Eagles that many times, and they still did it efficiently. So my assumption is a pretty big week here from Isaiah Pacheco, who also takes on, I think, the 5th best matchup of the position, taking on the Raiders. I mean, yeah, I'll take Pacheco there alongside of Puka Nacua. Someone in the chat, Sebastian Wynn, said, Wicks is out. Is that confirmed? Are we good to go there? Let's see here. Let me look this up. Wicks. If he's out, it only helps all the other wide receiver positions of this team. Let me see. Let's see here. Let's see here. Packers, Lions, inactives. Can I get an inactive list? Let's see here. Where do we have? Yes, he is inactive. That's great. I mean, I don't understand now. I mean, if Underdog hasn't changed their number on both the receiving totals in terms of fantasy points for both Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, I will be legitimately surprised. Because if Wicks is out, those numbers should jump. Because that just means more opportunity. They did not move. I mean, listen, guys. Listen. It could work. I mean, it should work. But yeah, getting back to Danny Morales' question. Pacheco, Puka. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from, let's see here. This one's from Julian Connor. Again, says, my bad. I have Tank Dell instead of Nico. Got it. Still accept Bijan and Terry for Diggs. I mean, I think this helps even more. The fact that you have Tank Dell instead of Nico Collins is even better, I think. But yeah, again, considering that running back position that you have, I think you're solid to make this trade. I think you're, especially from what we saw in week 10 from Bijan Robinson, if that continues to sustain in terms of his high volume of touches, 16, 17 plus rushing attempts every single game, maybe he gets into the 20 range, I would venture to say that he's in a half PPR, a better prospect individually than Diggs. You're getting Terry on top of it. Thank you. Shaquille. Shaquille. Shaquille Nadeau says, must win, full PPR, 2 running backs and wide receiver with flex. JT Montgomery, Gus Edwards, Stevenson, Evans, Olave, Chase. Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, so of the following, Jonathan Taylor, Montgomery, those are my 2 running backs I'm starting. The 2 wide receivers I would start would be Mike Evans alongside of Chris Olave. And I would honestly probably flex Gus Edwards there. Thank you. Moving on to Charles R., who says, is it crazy to drop Tua and add Fields? Tua rest of season schedule sucks. Does it really? Miami schedule. Let's see here. Rest of season. I mean, next week against Washington's not bad. The week after that against Tennessee's not bad. The only thing that I would ever be concerned with is Justin Fields week 15, first round of the fantasy playoffs. He takes on Cleveland. That's the only thing that I would be worried about. Otherwise, technically, Fields should be able to outscore, assuming he stays healthy, Tua every single week. I mean, he technically should be able to, considering he's rushing upside. Thank you. So yeah, I don't mind the swap. I would try to find somebody else to swap off your roster, but if you don't have anybody else, I don't mind it. Boxer Card Production says PPR, Dylan, Amari Cooper, Demario Douglas, JSN, or Rashee Rice. If I'm playing only one out of the bunch, I'm playing Demario Douglas there in a full PPR capacity. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question from Random Name. I don't know. That's literally the name. Random Name IDK says, worth trading Jerome Ford plus Davis / Zay Jones type wide receiver for Ridley rest of season? I want a better flex. Ridley can solve that. Happy Thanksgiving. I don't mind it. Assuming you have running back depth to be able to sustain the loss of Jerome Ford, I'm okay with that trade. Thank you, Random. Appreciate it. Alrighty. Let's see here. Okay, we're catching up. Antonio Haskell. Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate it. Andrew, the Great cook this. Andrew the Great cook this up. Full PPR, 12-man league, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. Between the 2 of them, I'd play Patrick Mahomes. Barkley, Warren, Javonte Williams, Pacheco. Between those, I'd play Barkley and I would play Pacheco. Yeah, Barkley, Pacheco as your 2 running backs. 2 wide receivers, you have Nico Collins, DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown. I'd play Nico Collins and DK Metcalf. As for your tight end, between Kincaid and Laporta, I'll take Kincaid. As for your flex, I'm probably playing either Jalen Warren, Javonte Williams, or Laporta. Let me check who I have ranked highest. Warren. I have Warren there. I have Warren ahead of Laporta. I have Warren. Yeah, Warren's the flex out of the bunch. So again, Antonio Haskell from the top. Mahomes, Barkley, Pacheco, Collins, DK, Kincaid, Warren. Thank you. Moving on. We had a question that came in from Shawshank. What a name, huh? What a movie. Shawshank says Swift, Eckler, Montgomery, DK, Chase, Amon-Ra, Devontae, Pittman, full PPR suggest starter set. Yeah, the rankings on screen should be able to guide you, but if that doesn't help, the suggestion is Eckler, Swift as your starting RBs, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Michael Pittman Jr. as your starting wide receivers, and if you need one singular player for the flex, I would most likely end up playing Montgomery. Thank you. Scrolling down after Shawshank's question, we had one that came in from Lawrence. Lawrence again says Pacheco, Stevenson, or Hall as my RB in a full PPR. Let me check who I have ranked highest. Full PPR. So it's Hall, Ramondre, or Pacheco. I have Ramondre Stevenson ranked the highest in a full PPR. The order I have it in full PPR is Ramondre 1, Brees Hall 2, Pacheco 3 in that order. So I would suggest playing Ramondre there, Lawrence. Thank you. J1 sends in a question. J1 says 12-team PPR, 4-7 currently. Stroud, JT, Montgomery, Swift, Warren, Cup, Chase, Dell, Higgins, Rice, Downs, Charbonnet, Laporta. Any moves? Trade Warren for a wide receiver like Olave and Pittman. If you can, you should. 100 and all the percentages that you could possibly imagine, yes, I would rather make that trade and bringing in Olave or Pittman for Warren if you're capable of doing so, especially considering you have Chase. There's a little bit of an issue there because you don't want to start Chase and Higgins within the same week, and you also don't want to play them as much with a backup quarterback. If you can improve upon that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Xavier W says, in a 14-team full PPR, trade Kupp for Devonta Smith, Ayuk. Can you get them both? Or is it one or the other? Or Kupp and David Montgomery and Charbonnet for Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra. Wait, what? Okay, I'm so confused. Xavier, someone is willing to give you Diggs, CeeDee Lamb. What? I'm so confused. I need some sort of clarification here, Xavier. When you say or Kupp, David Montgomery, and Zach Charbonnet for Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, Kamara, Bijan, and Addison, are you talking about a 3-for-6 trade in which you get all the god-tier players for free? Is this like someone selling you their team? What's going on? Noah Curtis in the chat said, would you do Likely or Muth this week at tight end? I have Likely ranked as my number 11 tight end on screen, so I'd rather play him over Muth. Ryan Kennedy sends in a question, says, rest of season, have Kyron Williams coming back. I need to drop one, Gabe Davis, T. Higgins, Singletary, or Herbert. My running backs are Pollard, Mixon, Javonte, Charbonnet. My wide receivers are Lockett, Adams, Nico. I would drop Khalil Herbert there. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question from Wandier, maybe? Happy Thanksgiving, sir. Says Purdy versus Seattle or Fields versus Minnesota this week. Opponent has Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, DJ Moore. Wow, that's interesting. Also Pacheco or Charbonnet. Between Pacheco and Charbonnet, I'd rather play Pacheco this week. Half PPR question. 4-point per passing touchdown. Yeah, between Brock Purdy and Fields, Brock Purdy's just been ridiculously good. Like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks. Like, I can't really argue with that. He's just kind of the more... He's not only the safer player, but he has obviously presented... such high upside as of late. So I'll go with Purdy there and I'll play Pacheco there. Thank you. Xavier says, sorry, Andrew, may have been confusing, but I meant Kupp for one of those guys or Kupp, David Montgomery, Charbonnet for one of those guys. Got it. Okay. So if it's Kupp for Devonta Smith or Ayuk in a full PPR 14-team league, yeah, so look, at this point, I would never do a trade in which I'm trading Kupp, Montgomery, and Charbonnet for one of those guys. So that's off the table. But would I be willing to trade Kupp straight up for Ayuk rest of season or Devonta Smith? Smith, not as comfortable. Ayuk maybe a little bit more because eventually we will see the return of Goddard and it will affect Devonta Smith's overall upside. Do I trade Kupp for Ayuk? Is this trade going to process today? Because if the trade processes today, I'd be willing to take the risk. But man, it's so risky. If the trade would process today, I'd be willing to make the trade for Ayuk. But it would have to process before the game. Otherwise, I don't even want to deal with it. Paxton Egan says, Purdy or Justin Fields start one. Yeah, I'll take Purdy this week. Thank you. Even in a 4-point. Again, the rankings on screen are for a 4-point. Shawshank has a follow-up. Says Murray, Dobbs, Fields. Drop one rest of the season. It's probably ending up dropping. Yeah, it's probably end up dropping Murray. Like Fields is a better option than Murray. He's the better version of him. He has more rushing upside. And Dobbs gets Jefferson back. So that's probably the two that I prefer. King Screw in the chat. I'd probably just play Dotson then in that point. If you have no alternative options to wait out for OBJ in case he doesn't play, then you just play Dotson today. FRS says higher ceiling, full PPR, Schultz or Laporta. In a full PPR, the higher ceiling is Laporta. Anthony sends in a question, says full PPR, start 3, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex. We have Amari Cooper, we have Drake London, we have Romeo Dobbs, Boyd, Hunt, Chandler, Mitchell. What are your key kicker and defense rankings? Kicker and defense rankings on screen right now. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So of the following that you mentioned, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex, Drake London, Romeo Dobbs. Amari Cooper, London, and Dobbs. I'd start all three of the receivers there. You know what? I don't know if I like that, actually. Yeah, let's give it a shot. I'll take Amari Cooper. I'll take Drake London. I'll take Romeo Dobbs there, Anthony. Let's start all three of the wide receivers. Appreciate it. No, you're good to go, Xavier. Appreciate it. Thank you. Tim says, tell him why I should play Dobbs today, says Tim. If you don't know why to play Dobbs, then I can't help you, because Dobbs has just been a monster as of late. Christian Watson, Rondale Moore, Rashad Bateman, or Quentin Johnston. I'd rather play Christian Watson out of the bunch. I have no hope in Quentin Johnston or Rashad Bateman. Rondale Moore has to score a touchdown, or Michael Wilson has to be active, which Michael Wilson didn't practice yesterday anyway, so it doesn't help. Downs or Reed, full PPR flex. I'll still take Reed there. I like Downs, they're very comparable in terms of their potential, but yeah, I'll take Reed there. I still like him. Full PPR, I need 2 RBs, 2 flex, Monty, Brees, Warren, Ridley, Sutton, Cooks, Watson, London. Matt, Turzo, Montgomery has to play. Brees Hall is the second running back there. Ridley as a flex, and I would also flex Warren next to him. Rowett says, I need to start 1 tight end, 1 running back, 1 flex between Monty, Gus, Mondre, Kittle, Laporta. So the tight end I would play is Kittle. The running back I would play is Montgomery. And the flex I would play is Gus Edwards. Sanjay says, start Taysom Hill or Ferguson in a PPR. In a PPR, I prefer to actually play the tight end that catches the ball. Not to say that Taysom Hill can't catch the ball, but he's getting less utilization in that kind of capacity. Griffin says, would you trade Amon-Ra for JJ? No. Dylan or Downs? In a full PPR, I'd rather have Downs. Yeah, I'd much rather have Downs. Madison or D-Hop? In a full PPR, I'd rather have D-Hop. Cube says full PPR, Adams, Slim Reaper, Mixon, Charbonnet, pick 3. Adams, Slim Reaper, and Mixon. I would bench Charbonnet this week. What are we doing with Achane? Assuming Achane's active tomorrow. So let's look at the rankings that are currently on screen, right? For example, if Achane is somehow, some way active tomorrow, which I don't know if that'll be the case, considering, again, it's a short week. If he's active tomorrow, I would play him at RB. Oh, man, it's tough. I would probably... Listen, you might call me crazy, but if he's active, I would legitimately probably play him at RB 20. I'd probably play him ahead of Brees Hall. I put him at 21, and I bumped Brees Hall down 1 spot. Bear Camp Cabin sends in a question. Very generous. Thank you very much. Says, I'm on a 2 QB league. Would you play Sam Howell or Rachaad White? Please pick one. Whew. Is it a PPR or is it a half PPR? Or is it standard? Bear Camp. That clarification would help. Thank you. Let's see here. Laporta or McBride? I have, again, guys. Oh, sorry. Let me change the rankings on screen to tight end. Laporta, McBride. I have McBride at 4. I have Laporta at 7. So I'd go McBride there. Start, bench, cut, Stroud, Murray, Fields. Yeah, start Fields, bench, Stroud, cut, Murray. Rachaad White or Ayuk in a full PPR? I feel like Rachaad White's the better play there. So here's the thing about the Sam Howell, Rachaad White question. Sam Howell in a 2 QB league probably can safely get us 16 points in fantasy. In a full PPR, Rachaad White should be able to eclipse that number. That being said, Sam Howell most likely has the higher upside because he could always come away with a 300-yard, 3 passing touchdown game in which, what is that? That's 12 plus another 12. That's 24 points. Can Rachaad White accomplish that? Absolutely. But is it as likely as Sam Howell doing it? Probably not. So if it's a full PPR, I think the safety of that quarterback and the upside of it probably takes the cake. Yeah, so even if it's a half or full, I'll probably just take the quarterback there. It's tough though. I'd like to play Rachaad White, but if it's a quarterback in exchange, I'll probably just take the quarterback in that scenario. Antonio Haskell says Jared Goff or CJ Stroud. I'll take CJ Stroud today. Thank you. Or not today, this week. Mr. Tres Cero Cinco says Happy Turkey Day. Are Christian Watson and Rashee Rice droppable? Depends. I would say Rashee Rice is more droppable than Christian Watson at the moment. Dobbs, Downs, or Garrett Wilson in a PPR? I'm fairly certain I have Garrett Wilson highest ranked on screen, and it would probably say very similar in a full PPR capacity. AJ Dillon or Jaden Reed, full PPR? I'd honestly play Jaden Reed. Okay, we got 2 more minutes here. Which running backs should I start? Hall, White, Pollard, Montgomery? Hall, White, Pollard, Montgomery. So I have White and Montgomery ranked the highest out of those guys on screen, as you guys can see, like right here. 11 is White, 12 Montgomery, Pollard 13. So that's the way I would go about it. Thank you. Ramondre or Pacheco, says Omega Flash. If it's a half PPR, it's Pacheco. If it's a full PPR, it's Ramondre. McLaurin or Sutton, I take McLaurin in all scenarios there, regardless of scoring format. What's up, David Ramos? How's it going, man? Happy Thanksgiving. STX says Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Kamara, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams. Which one should I bench? If I'm benching one of the bunch, I'm going to bench Breece Hall. I would rather start Etienne, Kamara, Jacobs, Kyron Williams. London, Downs, Douglas, pick 2 full PPR. In a full PPR from starting 2 of those 3, it's probably London and Douglas. Which 2 running backs should I start? Hall, White, Pollard, Montgomery? I would, if it's my team half PPR, like it says on screen, I'll take White and I'll take Montgomery there. Thank you. Taysom Hill or Pollard as my flex? Pollard. Casey says, bro, I'm stuck. Do I start Puka, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, or DK Metcalf? I can choose one or at most 2. Look, I think DJ Moore has to start no matter what, but if Cooper Kupp is inactive this week, you play Puka Nacua. So for sure, have in mind playing DJ Moore, but if Cooper Kupp is inactive on Sunday, we play Puka Nacua as well as that second option. Trade Lockett for Deebo Samuel. I don't mind it. I don't love it, though. I think Tyler Lockett probably has more receiving yardage potential and probably just as much touchdown upside. Would you risk Reed over Collins in a full PPR? No, I wouldn't. I mean, I could justify it in my brain to commit to it, but I wouldn't risk it. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Trade review. I traded Joe Mixon and Nico Collins for Dak Prescott, Zay Flowers. Tua is my backup. I lost Burrow. I mean, I don't know if you technically needed the upgrade here, but I mean, if losing Mixon and Collins doesn't really affect you, Jimmy, then I think you're fine. Elliot Tom says, made a couple trades and sold Tank Dell, DJ Moore, Lamar Jackson, Ferguson for Amon-Ra, Kyler, Swift, and Goddard. Wondering if you think I was a good move. Okay. So, Tank Dell, DJ Moore, Lamar, and Ferguson for Amon-Ra, Kyler, Swift, and Goddard. So, as of right now, Goddard is injured. So, that doesn't help unless you have another tight end on roster. And honestly, I don't even know when Goddard comes back. Maybe week 15, hopefully, for the fantasy playoffs. We'll have to wait and see. Lamar is better than Kyler. Amon is better than Tank Dell. And Swift and DJ Moore are probably very comparable rest of season play. So ultimately, I think this is even. It could be even if Goddard comes back sooner rather than later. I think this is a relatively even trade because Lamar has such a distinct advantage over Kyler. But Swift and Moore are identical. Amon is better than Dell, but not by that much. Obviously, considering Tank Dell's been playing so well, but he will kind of come back down to earth eventually. But the gap is closed from Amon and Tank as to the waiting time on Goddard. But as long as you have another tight end option, you should be fine. Lockett or Garrett Wilson? I have Lockett ranked higher. Why do you have Mixon so low? I mean, let's just think about the game plan of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, okay? This is how I've kind of approached it with my, at least kind of justifying it myself. If the Pittsburgh Steelers are taking on Jake Browning, the likelihood is they're going to be stopping the run and stacking the box. Because why wouldn't you force Jake Browning to try to beat you with his arm? You have guys out there in the secondary, assuming, of course, by the time we get to Sunday, hopefully, Minkah Fitzpatrick is healthy. But you got guys in that secondary that are veterans. You got Patrick Peterson. You have good players in the secondary that could cover at a Jamar Chase. If you force Jake Browning to beat you with his arm, and he's the reason they lose, fantastic. But don't get beat on the ground. Don't allow Joe Mixon to run for 100 yards on you, because they're going to give him the ball probably 15 plus times on the ground minimum. So my thought process is, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's my first point of interest. Stop the run and then force Jake Browning to do everything else. And with that, I'm assuming, okay, first and foremost, if they're going to stack the box, that's less rushing potential rushing yard upside. If Jake Browning is in a quarterback that likes to target his running backs out of the backfield, that's another negative. And then on top of it, if the offense just isn't as effective as it has been with Joe Burrow, which it probably will not be, there's less touchdown upside for Joe Mixon. So everything is just pretty much working against him, despite the fact that he still has the potential of being a solid RB2 play. A lot of it is based on him being able to overcome the deficiencies of that offense for now. Moving on to Adam Amar, who says, I'm 8-3. My RBs are Kyren Williams, Saquon, Breece Hall, Fournette, Elijah Mitchell. My wide receivers are Kupp, Thielen, Godwin. Has the game started? I think it has. Let's go ahead and check it out. Pull it up on my phone real quick before I end out today's stream. I traded Swift for Kamara. Did I mess up? No. I think Kamara is great rest of the season. I actually have him ranked higher rest of season rankings. So Adam Amar says, Saquon, Breece, Fournette. I don't think you need Fournette. Fournette hasn't played yet, so he probably won't. Wide receivers are Kupp, Thielen, Godwin. Do I trade Breece Hall for Ayuk? Would you rather have for playoffs? Kyren Williams, Saquon, Breece Hall. Kupp, Thielen, Godwin. Oh man, that's a really good question. Let me look at the Jets schedule. They have Miami, Washington, Cleveland. So, man, conventional wisdom would say to keep the running back, because just in case something happens, Adam, to Kyren Williams or Saquon, you want to have another running back on roster, because Fournette and Elijah Mitchell will not be able to fill in. And unless you go pick up Royce Freeman and, Saquon's backup potentially, you're going to be in a pretty tough spot there, unless they're already picked up. So at that point, you're probably in a position to where you might want to keep the running back just for depth purposes. Otherwise, I think this week is kind of the tell. Like, if Tim Boyle really isn't able to do anything with this offense, which I don't expect him to do, the offensive line's bad. Honestly, if it's me, I'd probably take the deal. Conventional wisdom would say to keep the running back depth just to make sure that you're secure there, but I would probably take the deal, and I'd take Ayuk there. Cody Shannon had a question, said, Olave or Pollard in the flex, full PPR? I'm fairly certain I have Pollard ranked higher. Let me just confirm this. Pollard is my number 26. Yeah, he's ahead of Chris Olave in a flex capacity. Jimmy says, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Full PPR trade review. I traded Joe Mixon. Okay, so we took care of that one. Joseph says, PPR, start Deontay Johnson or wait for Cooper Kupp status. I can grab Tutu Atwell for Kupp. I mean, they don't play today, so let's just wait. Stu Gooden says, I don't like the trade, Jimmy. Yeah, I told Jimmy I didn't like it either. I mean, wait, was it Jimmy's trade? No, it wasn't Jimmy's trade. Jimmy's trade's fine under the assumption that he has running back depth. If he doesn't have running backs, that's a disaster, because why do you need to have quarterbacks at that capacity? You don't need Tua and Dak, you know what I mean? Unless you're going to trade away Tua like today. Shubs says 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Who do I start out of Dell, Devontae Adams, Pittman, Ayuk, Chase? Dell has to play. Devontae Adams has to play. Pittman has to play. Those are the 3 that I would suggest. What's the floor of Ridley versus Houston? Hopefully, like 12 points. Hopefully, that's the floor. That's kind of where I'm ranking him on, like just his floor production, because we know the upside's significantly higher. Do I start DK, Henry, or Shaheed? Henry. All right, guys. That's going to cover for me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We've been here since 7 a.m. trying to answer questions. I know that the game has begun between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. I'm going to go enjoy my football Thursday. You guys do the same. Enjoy the games. Enjoy your happy Thanksgivings. I'll be back tomorrow with a video, maybe a live stream. We'll see. But either way, I do appreciate y'all. Thank you for everybody who have gone ahead and clicked the like button, sent in super chats, supported, whether it's just asking questions, answering questions, all that above. Greatly appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to cue the music. We're going to play the double helix, and I'm going to bid you a farewell. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace. Where's the next one? Say, if somehow, some way, this Green Bay Packers team doesn't go down the field and score right now, I will be. I mean, what are we doing? How are we not blocking that guy? Am I right, guys? What are we doing? We get a nice 53-yard bomb down to Christian Watson, and now we're just, I mean, absolutely falling apart here. They're going empty set. They motion the guy back into the backfield. Okay. You better not call a timeout here. Let's go. Hurry up. I mean, let's go. Is that Jaden Reed? Is that my boy? Here he goes again. It's Jaden Reed. Let's go. All right, guys. See ya. Peace.